It's hard to say for sure what strain. I've got it down.
What's up, potheads and political junkies? You're watching Cannabis Culture News Live. I am Jeremiah Vandermeer, editor of Cannabis Culture Magazine and Pot TV, sitting right next to Cory, Trip C, and Dana Larson on the couch.
Hello, hello.
Smoking a fatty. How are you, Cory?
I'm good. Well, I could be better.
You should point that mic at yourself.
There we go.
And we have Dana Larson over there. Hi, Dana. Now, Dana, when you talk, we're going to get you to try and squeeze a little bit closer because we want to make sure that your handsome face is all the way on camera there.
This mic's not doing anything either.
Oh, there's a switch on it. Is the switch turned on?
It's on.
Okay. Well, Tommy will help you with that microphone.
All right, let me know.
We'll get you going in a second here.
He's not wired for sound.
Yeah. Dana's not allowed to speak on this
I
episode.
just thought that.
Yeah. We'll make sure that's working for you in a couple seconds. And yes, this is live. Flipper in the chat. To all those people out there in Pot TV land in the chat room, and to all the people in MarijuanaMan.tv land.
Paging ashtrays. We need an ashtray.
I don't know. Here. Use this as a circle. There you go.
Still can't afford an ashtray.
We spent all our money on
Microphones.
microphone cables for Dana. Ashtrays. So that big show today about medical marijuana dispensaries in the city of Vancouver and across Canada. The title of today's show is Dazed and Confused about medical marijuana.
I love the unofficial
Thank you,
guidelines you've gotten. There's absolutely nothing there.
Right. So I bet that mic's a little hot, Tommy. I can hear the feedback on it right now. So
It's a little hot.
a little hot.
That's because I'm holding it.
And turn the gain down, Tom, on that mic, and turn the mic down as well, please.
This one might
And-
need to, too. I think
Yeah.
this one, too.
The big knob, man. So, today's show,
Right.
Dazed and
That's
Confused,
better.
as I'm feeling now, after the puffs on that joint, about medical marijuana in the city of Vancouver. Now, it's a weird thing that happened this week. The city of Vancouver, who have failed to bust all of the illegal dispensaries, they call them, in Vancouver, they've allowed them to exist for the past 15 years, kind of in a gray area, where they're not really legal, but the cops themselves only shut them down once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, the police actually have released some informal guidelines, as Cory mentioned, and that was because I was basically harassing them to do that.
Me too.
Yeah, and a bunch of us have been, because they've kind of informally said this before. They've come out and said, well, we're not going to go after people if they're trying to make a whole bunch of profits. Now, the interesting thing about their new rules, which we'll go over a little bit later on the show, were their focus on children. They really were...
And violent traffickers.
Right. Well, yeah, violence was in there, but not in their actual guidelines. But they said the first two were don't market to children and don't sell to children, which is kind of attached to that come a few questions automatically, because there are children who use medical marijuana as a medicine for their ailments. We know a few of them. We've had
We sell
Haley on the show.
the minors at our dispensary, but they've got to have the same requirements as everybody else. Plus, they've got to have parental permission as well.
Right.
Or a guardian or whatever. They have to have their adult person also confirming that as well. So that's the only difference. But we don't really market to children. Although if we're saying, hey, if your kid's got epilepsy, we can help. That's is that
And
marketing to
have
children?
edibles?
But
Well,
we have
exactly.
edibles and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean,
we
I
have
looked at the
edibles.
packaging from Budzilla. I mean, the Budzilla name is kind of a silly name, although I don't know if your name should be something to get you rated, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, it's
it does have a little cartoon on the package that looks like Godzilla.
Yeah, but if
But it's
But-
mostly
but
a
that shouldn't-
cellophane package. It's just a baggie with a cookie or a lollipop
And
in
a
it.
warning label.
And a warning label. So, I mean, we're going to get into this a little bit more on the show, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I think, and I'm assuming this because the police themselves have only sort of given us these rules that they say they're busting people on. There's probably more to these things. I've heard reported.
I think the number
A lot
one
more.
rule is community complaints, and
Yes.
whether that's valid or not, whether you've got a neighbor that is just an anti-marijuana bigot who doesn't like you being there, or whether there's actual stuff that are valid
Mhm.
community concerns, we don't really know. I
Well,
mean, it's
And
hard-
you can't.
Yeah. When it comes to
Can't be sure.
Budzilla, they did say it was based on complaints, and what the other dispensaries they busted in Vancouver, like Jim's Weeds and others, have all been based on complaints as well. Now, Cory, I heard, and somebody else reported to me that they had also heard this, that Budzilla had a sign sitting out in front that said free weed on it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, there's a sign out there. I have no
Right.
idea what it means.
Well,
I'll find out when I go back.
I imagine that. It's a gram of the membership. See,
Oh.
I guess that the police themselves see a sign that says free weed. They go inside and they
It's-
have lollipops in little baggies and stuff.
It's hard to get too mad at the VPD when there's over 40 places and then there's more than any other city and that. But it would be better if we had actual guidelines so we knew what the
Thank
rules
you.
were.
Yeah.
Because we don't really
Amen.
know. Well, was it the cartoon, Ryan, or was the rule no cartoon characters?
Right.
And we won't do that then if that's the rule, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Their rules
is
are
it, or
very
is it,
vague.
you can't, like how, and that needs to be the next step. I mean, Vision Vancouver and the City Council have been great with benign neglect is how they've been treating it, right? We're just going to ignore this and kind of pretend it's not happening, and they'll comment on it and say good things, and that's great. Like, there's no complaints about their tolerance, but it's got to go to the next level now. There has to be an actual firmer system. Give us business licenses and deal with
Amen.
those kind of ways. If another
Take
business
taxes.
gets community complaints, the cops usually don't go in and raid them, but they might send
No.
a bylaw inspector in, or they might talk about their business
There's a
license, or they
process.
might deal with it in other ways. And we want to come in, if they can license escorts and those kind of places, those also are in kind of the gray area of the law where it's sort of illegal but not totally. And so if they can license that kind of stuff, they should be able to figure out rules for us. And I'd love to work with the city to do that. And I'm quite confident that the vast majority of places would be happy to work within the rules if we knew what the rules were.
Right.
Yes.
Well, right now, though, we have a
Unified
situation
approach.
where the city itself has said that they don't even want these places to have business licenses at all. In fact, when Mark Clokeed of Mega Ill Pizza went and met with the city, they
Yeah, that's
told
the
him
current
directly
stance, yeah.
that they wouldn't give a business license out, and they said, please just don't even ask for one.
Yeah,
So
that's
at
the
this
current
point,
stance.
it
Yeah,
seems
that
like
needs
they're-
to change because that's
Yeah.
the control the city has. I mean, that's their mechanism of screening people. And if they're not going to do that, then that means they're, so it's good they're being tolerant and allowing us to exist, but they've also got to be proactive and take on a responsibility as the city government that they
Mhm.
should be treating us like other businesses. And I think that would be better for everybody because they're going to proliferate. And I'm all for there being lots of dispensaries. I've helped get tons going, and I think it's great. There's lots of them, but they got to make some kind of rules. I think, anyways, it would help us all if we knew what the rules were, and then we at least knew if we were engaging in civil disobedience or whether we were following the rules. Right? I mean, if they're bad rules, we can fight them, but I want to see some rules. I'd like to see community consultation and
Yeah.
meetings and have them go around and. CAMCD has got a good basis there. The Canadian Association of Medical Cannabis Dispensaries, we
Okay.
put together some good protocols and good systems for
Isn't
that,
the
and I'd like to
problem,
see
though,
that carried
that
over.
simply they're not allowed to do some of this stuff because the federal government will not allow them to. I mean, it's
they
not
just
really
had-
their jurisdiction in order to
They
do some
just
of these
had the
things.
extraction.
Well, it depends
Court
on where
ruling.
there's a will, there's a way. I feel it may be challenging and it may be an issue, but they got insight going
Yeah,
in the
start
face of
somewhere.
federal government.
That's what I was
Maybe
just
they
gonna
could go
say,
to
harm
court and
reduction.
fight
There's
about it.
so
Maybe
much
they
harm
could do it.
reduction.
But I mean, not allowing them to proliferate is also kind of going against federal law, right? I mean, that's also making a policy decision. We're not going to enforce this federal law because we think it's a waste of money. And they do that on lots of other stuff too. Bongs and pipes are illegal to sell. Even our show is illegal, and there's lots of other laws that don't get enforced in Canada.
That's very true.
But
Yes.
I'd like to see them trying to do something, and they are kind of doing it in a way by issuing those informal guidelines. They have been sending license inspectors around to all the dispensaries, checking for stuff like safety of fire hazards and the other kind of things, which they should be checking for, and which they would check for if you had a business license, I think, right? So they are trying to do some of that, and that's good, I think. I don't want there to be some fire in a dispensary, people die because they weren't. That's bad, right?
That would be very bad.
We got to follow those kind of real safety rules.
Right now, Dana,
but-
you got at your dispensary, you have some self-imposed rules, and many of the dispensaries
All dispensaries,
do.
that's all we have is self-imposed
Yeah.
rules, right?
Making
And-
it up as they go along.
And
every
you
single
mentioned
one.
you mentioned
But is there-
CAMCD. That's what does that stand for?
Canadian
again?
Association of Medical Cannabis Dispensaries, and it's online at camcd.ca.
Right.
And it's in terms of the overall number of dispensaries, the number that are participating in CAMCD is not very big right now, but it's still a growing number, and I think that's the model we want to have for it. We want to have a model where we are self-regulating, where we can set up some standards and protocols, and we can use that to give our communities and the police and our customers and everybody else confidence that you're operating in a certain way and that you're achieving a certain standard. And
Yeah,
like any other
definitely.
professional body, right? The lawyers have their lawyer association and the truck drivers have their thing, and we need one for us. Or we're like a professional body or standard setting kind of
system.
organization. Yeah, absolutely. There's been talk of union. In the States, a lot of the dispensaries are also unionized, where the employees are in a union, and that's something we've talked about. It's never come to fruition yet. I feel like the industry is still a bit new. Most dispensaries are only like a year old or less, right? But I think that's probably going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
which
now,
would be interesting.
Since we're talking about it and we've gone into details now, I might as well read the informal rules handed out by the VPD here. This was VPD Constable Brian Montague writing me in just a response to one of an email question that I had asked him specifically for these guidelines. He said, there are no specific written rules or checklist, but these businesses should use some basic common sense. And he went on to say, don't market to children, don't sell to children, don't create fire hazards, and don't operate in a manner that clearly puts financial gain ahead of public safety or providing any type of medical service. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the kids thing is a little weird about that because we do sell the kids in the same way as anybody else as long as they've got permission, but we don't sort of seek it out. But I mean, so I don't really know. It's a little vague, some of that stuff.
It is
but certainly
vague.
it's nice to have some,
and here's
something
a little
to work with.
Contextualization about the whole kid thing. In an earlier press release from the VPD the day before when they actually raided Budzilla, they released a press release. And that one says here, it said they found products comprised of dry marijuana and THC-infused edibles, including candy and cookies, and that the appearance and packaging of many of these items could be potentially very appealing to children.
Okay, and now where in there does it say that they were selling to kids?
Well, it doesn't say they were selling to
appealing.
kids. Yes.
So
That's right.
I'd just like to point that out. Thank you.
Yeah, I do feel like that can't be the only reason why they got raided. That I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but I feel there must have been some kind of community complaint or some other
agree.
valid
I
or
agree.
not, or
No, they did mention.
And in fact, I was just going to say we've been talking. David Mamalabine brought up some interesting packaging from the States. That's all kind of childproof packaging and things like that, and we're thinking about. Maybe moving over to
just
that.
Sat down on the edge of the couch here, has some show and tell for us.
DM out.
Do you want to pull out some of your things?
Yeah, but we're gonna have to. Yeah, we're gonna maybe Cory. At this point, maybe we'll get you to. I'm gonna put David right here, but we're gonna bring you back on in a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Because I wanted to talk to you about your videos and stuff.
Okay.
But I just want David to come over here with a show and tell so we can actually get it on cam here. We'll get you back in a minute. We need more space. We need a big, huge, long couch that goes all the way to the wall.
Now, before I show you the cool packaging from Colorado, I just want to say, how are you supposed to give young children their epilepsy cannabis medicine if it's in pate or broccoli or whatever it's...
I haven't seen the broccoli, but...
It's supposed to be enticing to kids so they'll take their medicine.
Where do we get this medical marijuana pate, though, David?
Well, exactly. I think they're trying to say you shouldn't be enticing to kids. Well, some
Brussels
kids
sprouts.
take
Put it in Brussels sprouts.
medical marijuana, right? So it can't just all be in adult foods that you have to acquire a taste for. Sometimes it has to be in sugary foods so the kids won't have seizures every 5 minutes.
Yes.
So I think there's this whole, it's like their one last trick. Somebody screams the word kids and pot in the same sentence and everyone runs around and loses their heads.
Think of the children.
Think of the children. Won't somebody think of the children? Marijuana is the assassin of youth. Mm-hmm. But we are just about to publish an article that surveys 24 different scientific studies on cannabis in youth or cannabis and inherent harm. And we're going to blow away the last remaining myth of the drug war so they have no big sticks to beat us over the head with anymore.
Right. And on last week's show, I played a clip from CNN, which had a narration by Sanjay Gupta, their chief medical correspondent. And in this little clip, it was about the entourage effect.
Yes.
It showed an animation about how THC and the other chemicals in marijuana interact with the brain.
Yes.
And in it, he's got a little animation of a very young-looking girl cartoon. And he actually says that cannabis oil is especially good for children with medical problems. Yeah. And you see a little picture of the cannabis oil going into her spoon, and she takes it.
Well,
and she stops having seizures.
You think if Big Pharma had something that they could possibly compare with cannabis as an anti-spasmodic, as an anti-epilepsy medicine, they'd be using that. but they have nothing. There's these little kids who are having seizures all day long, and they're going to die because they can't get enough sleep and enough food in them to survive. And cannabis saves their life. And Big Pharma has nothing else, nothing that works. So they got to just stop with the reefer madness about the developing minds of the young. It's a catchphrase that people who don't look into things will use as a way to rationalize continued persecution, discrimination, shutting down of and raiding of medical marijuana establishments, and whatever else you want justifies the fines that they're going to levy on adults.
Oh,
it justifies everything.
Happy 421. Sorry to
Happy
interrupt you,
421.
David.
Too bad you weren't smoking weed right at 420.
That's right.
Well, I get a contact buzz just by being in this room.
Dana, can you throw that lighter that's on the edge of the table over at me here? I'd like to hit this bong. Don't throw it that hard. So yes, David, you're working on this article that's going to dispel some of the myths.
That's right.
But
So about the developing minds of the young, as in teenagers who use pot anyway, and we can't seem to get, even teenagers in jail can still get pot. So how are we going to keep it out of their hands
But
when
it is
they're
good to
not
make
incarcerated?
cannabis products that are, if they're appealing for kids, you want to also make it so people don't eat them by accident. And that's
Exactly.
what this kind of stuff is for.
Exactly. This is packaging in Colorado so that infants and toddlers do not get their hands on marijuana products without their parents' control and supervision. So you have this childproof container here. Open that up.
On the screen.
And we'll see how the childproof container works on Jeremiah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, hey, got it open first try.
Yes, I do see the little, it's got a clamp for the zipper.
Yeah.
So when the zipper goes back.
So it's hard to get the zipper open is what that is. But it's big enough so that you can stick a whole bunch of edibles and lollipops and whatever in there. No problem. And then
I see.
Sometimes seniors and people who aren't so strong have problems with some childproof containers too.
Yeah.
Like if you've got those
it
frail
actually,
wrists and things. Yeah.
it latches on
Yeah.
so that you can't open it unless you can pinch these two things.
that's right.
So there
So
you
it's a little skill based. Now, seniors, we're gonna need easy to open packaging for seniors too, because they can't fiddle with stuff like this. Here's another one, Alpine. Open that one
Looks
up
like
there.
a salt shaker.
It looks like a salt shaker, and
It has some sort of, is this a doobie container?
it
Oh,
will.
it opens with a thing and you can knock doobies out of it? I don't know how it works.
Here, I'll
Here,
show
let
you.
me look.
It's counterintuitive.
Let me see
You
here.
pull it back where you did. Pull it
Okay.
back where you did.
Yes.
and
this
then
is-
pop
this
it
is
right
gonna
off.
work against the kids.
There you go.
I see.
See, but when the thing isn't pulled out, then it
That
doesn't
would
come
be
off.
difficult for.
See, I feel like joints don't really need the childproof container in the same way because which for these containers we're talking about like a very young child. And a child who found a bunch of joints, unless they ate them, like they're not gonna. If they can use a lighter, then they're already gonna be able to open the container, right?
These aren't for
Right.
kids.
But
These are for police. These are to keep the cops away. Kids are going to survive pretty much any marijuana or hash-based encounter.
Yeah.
That they, it's probably not good if they eat your whole thing of butter or infused honey.
You don't want a kid accidentally getting high. That's
But what you really want to do
is
is show the cops that you give a shit about toddlers who might get into your weed, that you're doing your best to treat it as medicine, keep it in medical context so that you don't have a irate mom taking up time and energy of first responders and ambulance attendants because they're wigging out because their kid ate too much pot food. So these are to keep the police away. Really, you don't have to worry about cannabis in youth. Nobody's ever died of an overdose of cannabis. There's a couple guys in Germany. I sent the study to Lester Grinspoon because I want to know what he thought about it. But there's a study in Germany that says 2 guys died of an overdose. But they say it triggered an irregular heart, and one of them tested positive for caffeine, and they won't say how much the caffeine that guy took. And the other guy, they didn't say whether he tested positive for caffeine or not. And caffeine does trigger irregular heartbeats. So that has to be
Death
figured
by
out
coffee.
before you can blame it all on pot, because caffeine is definitely the stronger of the two stimulants. And people have died of overdoses of no-dose pills from caffeine. That's on record. So caffeine actually has a history of killing people, and pot doesn't. So we shouldn't assume it was the pot. But anyway, there are no official, uncontroversial overdoses of cannabis on record. So this is to keep the
Yes.
cops away.
But-
Is this one for suppositories or?
I don't know.
Here,
what
let's
that
see
thing
if it fits. But no, this is a doob tube with a push-down cap so that your kids who are too young to handle a lighter can't get into your weed.
I don't think you can fit a
pre-rolled.
lollipop into this one.
No, that one is for buds, as you
Yeah.
can see.
I guess really for cookies though. See, this is what kind of confuses me is you want to see a cookie before you eat it. You don't want a cookie packaged away in some like.
But this can be the takeaway
I don't want to take
container.
home a cookie that I don't know what it looks like.
This can be the takeaway container for parents who are worried about their toddlers getting into their pot food.
Right.
So you have the cookies on display in your display case, and then when
I
you buy
see.
them,
Yes,
this
they
is
go into the
they go into
baggie.
that one.
Yes.
And then this is for parents who
Everybody's
don't
a
want
happy-
their toddlers
yeah.
getting into their buds or their hash. So
that could solve the whole entire problem over at Budzilla. Just get them a bunch of these baggies, and Budzilla, if you're listening, package them up, send them out the door that way.
If the problem is a genuine concern over young people inadvertently, accidentally eating your pot food, yes, then that would solve that problem.
Right.
But if
That
the
might not be the
problem
case.
is that the cops are totally missing the old days when they could just go after pot people one by one, steal their weed, and smoke it themselves, then this doesn't satisfy that.
No.
Nothing will satisfy that except total legalization and calling the cops out when they do raid MedPod cafes. You, I guess, have established a rapport with the police. You've been back and forth emailing them.
right.
And
somewhat. They ignore me a lot.
You should definitely send out a request to find out whether the cops care if a doctor is supervising a kid's pot use, or whether dispensaries are going to get raided or not if they sell to under 18 for medical reasons.
Mhm.
And you should ask them also if everybody needs a Health Canada license or permit, or whether a doctor's note is enough. Because in their police press releases, it makes it sound like they could possibly go after each and every dispensary in Vancouver one by one until they're all
Right.
shut down
That is
using
just how vague their
these-
rules are.
Exactly. They need
although-
specific rules.
But they haven't done that, and
They have, and right
Yeah.
now they're opening faster than they're raiding them. So
Yes.
unless they increase their number of raids, even if they continue to raid one a month, and there's nothing they can't say reopen either. I mean, Budzilla might open. They might reopen again. Real Compassion on
Neil says
Hastings
they're
near
open
Maine
again.
got busted several months ago, and they reopened.
All right, but it's
I Medicate. When
I
he
think
got-
it's
he's got
still
his
a smart
first-
move to press them on this
Yes.
issue and appear strong,
Well, I plan
rather
on it.
than timid and hoping that they just won't increase their raid output. Because I think they should be put on the defensive for their actions, and not us keeping our heads down, cowering under our sheets with our fingers crossed, hoping that they're not going to do what Harper wants them to do,
Well,
or whatever.
we're not cowering.
Again, I think that a very good lesson to be learned by
yeah.
all of these different raids from the Vancouver Police Department is be friendly to your neighbors if you're a medical marijuana dispensary. Make buddies with your neighbors.
Which for any business makes sense, but for a
Yeah.
marijuana one, like triply so, because
Yeah.
you want to, and because it's a new thing, and because there's a lot of ignorance and bigotry against the marijuana people, and we have to overcome that. And I think that's something that other groups fighting those kind of perceptions have had to deal with also, right? But you want to try to maintain you're representing not just for yourself, but for the whole cannabis industry and for all of us, and so try to remember that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be sensitive to reasonable concerns like noise levels and complaints from other people about how businesses are run. But I don't think it's a good idea to just indulge them with every concern they have, no matter how unreasonable. Like I've seen some pot activists do with kids and teens and pot. We have these rallies every year, twice a year. They used to be at the Art Gallery. They're going to be somewhere else next year. And we've had some pot activists say, no, we really don't want kids smoking weed. But that's the wrong approach, because then you give them a weapon to beat us up with. And I know that when I was 14 years old, I dealt with my rage, and I dealt with my depression, and I dealt with my stress, and I dealt with my boredom, and I dealt with all the thumbs on my neck, and I dealt with thoughts of suicide, all with cannabis. Cannabis saved my life. It was great for me. I don't care how misdeveloped my mind got. It saved my life in all those other areas. And how dare they suggest that teens shouldn't be smoking pot? Teens should be smoking pot and avoiding all the other harder drugs like coffee. That's what I think. But
Yeah,
that's just
I'm
me.
with you.
All
I
right.
smoked a lot of pot when I was a teenager.
Yeah, most people started in their teens, and we would
You
have
know.
come up with a huge population of schizophrenic, low IQ people on disability if pot actually harmed the developing minds of the teens. But we don't. We have smarter and smarter people every year. It's called the Flynn effect. They have to adjust the IQ reports, the IQ tests every year to
Right.
deal with the fact that we're getting smarter every year. Schizophrenic rates have stayed the same, if not gotten a little lower.
You're right. We need something to slow people down, actually.
You know, I
really.
would say I agree with your ideas about teens there and stuff, but I'd say like the whole legalization has kind of been the medical people first. You know, they've kind of got something, but
Some of them are teens.
No, yeah. Then it's going to be like all adults and that, and then I think teens and the younger people are going to be one of the last wave. But you're
I
always like 4 steps ahead.
I'm always 4 steps ahead. But listen,
I
Dana
absolutely
Larson,
agree with that sentiment.
I
Absolutely.
agree with the medical first, but it's been medical since 1996 when California and Arizona went medical. How long are going we wait till we move to the next step? We've got to start pushing and defending ourselves. Otherwise, our dignity is going to be rolled back. So my approach is the next step is to define all use as medical, to define preventive medicine as a part of medicine. Recreation is a subset of medicine, and to include everybody in the realm of legitimacy. So hopefully the doctors will be on our side and agree with us, and those doctor's notes will
So
keep...
how do you get a doctor's note if you're healthy?
Well, you go to stressedanddepressed.ca, and you go to the booklet section of the website, and you download either the stressed booklet or the depressed booklet, based upon whether you are more stressed or more depressed. And then you take that to your doctor.
What if
and
you're
you...
neither?
Well,
Because you smoke so much pot.
Well, exactly. But whether you're trying to stave off depression
I
or
see.
trying to stave off stress,
So it doesn't
you look at your
necessarily mean-
lifestyle and you go, okay,
That's a subtle difference.
what
but
is
there's
my
a
doctor?
difference.
Well, yeah, it's preventive medicine. So you're trying to avoid these situations before they get bad, right? So I'm generally a happy person, but I need a little help with my happiness. Doctor, could you read this history of cannabis as an antidepressant and then write me a doctor's note? Or, I kind of got a heavy-duty job, and I'm a little worried about money, and I don't want to get too stressed out. Pot works. Can you read this history of cannabis as a relaxant and sign me a doctor's note? And then you get a doctor's note. You go to the dispensary, and you get your pot, and you get to choose from like 30 or 40 strains from one of his shops. And that is how we legitimize all pot use, is we expand the definition of medicine to include everybody. Everyone's legit. And then by the time Justin Trudeau walks in and legalizes weed, everyone will be already out of the danger zone.
Everybody in the city of Vancouver, maybe.
Everybody in Canada, because this stressed and depressed idea is going to cross the country like a tornado of reason.
Well, if a doctor would sign off on that, you could also order from an LP too, right? As long as the doctor was willing to
But
prescribe
why
it for
give
you,
money to guys like Tweed and MediGene
Well,
who are
I'm
trying to stop people from growing
I'm
at
not
home?
advocating that. I'm just saying.
A little bit,
I'm just saying.
little-
I'm
if you're
not
yelling, you
for
can pull the microphone
OLP.
a little bit away from you.
I don't think you should buy for the LPs. They don't
No
have
one
your
slammed the
interests at
LPs
heart.
harder than me.
Right.
Except for me.
I don't know. I slammed them good. Well,
Now,
whatever.
You slammed him in a bigger forum in the Vancouver Sun.
All right, yeah,
but I
maybe you did
slammed him
more.
harder
that's
harder
true.
at the cannabis culture website. So
Now,
between the two of us,
I was bringing up a point there.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that Vancouver is a lucky place because we have this medical marijuana. It's like basically an oasis though in a desert that includes raids happening in Halifax on Medical Cannabis Resource Center and this place called.
When did that happen?
This just happened today.
Oh, they raided the Halifax.
Yeah,
center today?
pharmacists in Halifax, the lounge, the medical marijuana lounge was raided.
The pharmacist and a lounge.
Pharmacist is the name of the lounge, I guess.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
because I know of that place, and that's too bad. I'm gonna have to
Pharmacist.
call them, see if we can. Oh, pharmacist.
It's called the
oh.
Pharmacist Cannabis Resource Center.
Okay, I thought you meant real pharmacists, like it was a. Okay,
no,
that
it's
makes
sorry,
sense
it's
to me. Right, yeah.
FARM.
I understand.
space
No, and I've heard
assist.
about that. That's too bad. I'm gonna have to give them a call, see if we can help out or something. But
Yeah, and so, but I mean, this is happening a lot. We do have other places just outside, like in Burnaby and elsewhere, being raided by the VPD. So there's still a lot of work to do. We're lucky in these big cities, but Dana and I were having a conversation about this yesterday. That it seems to be related to the municipal police departments themselves. In Toronto, they can get away with dispensaries. Here in Vancouver, we get away with them. There are other places that get away with them, but usually
There's like at least 4 in BC that are in RCMP territory that have either been raided and then reopened and stayed open after that.
Yeah.
And there's 1 or 2 that are never gotten raided. At least the Maple Ridge one has never gotten raided. That's RCMP.
Knock on wood.
But yeah, I don't know. It really does depend on the local cops and the local city council and all those things, and if any of them are willing to stand up for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
But being raided and reopening is also often that, like, several of those have stayed open after that, right? In Kelowna.
It's weird because
Kamloops.
in Burnaby, where Dana, you actually helped work on the Metrotown Dispensary. You were on the board, I think, or something like that. And didn't you meet with Mayor Derek Corrigan?
We met
there?
with the mayor, yeah, and he's a good guy, actually. He also spoke at one of our Sensible BC forums as well, and he's been very vocal about his support for marijuana and drug reform.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened.
They were
behind,
raided anyway, though.
but they got raided anyways. I mean, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I don't really know if he had any role. I mean, the RCMP does not have to do what the mayor tells them. They don't answer to the mayor.
Right.
The mayor can't say, "Don't bust this guy. He's my friend." But it can have an impact, and certainly it's a part of the equation. And if the mayor is saying, "We don't want you to make this a priority," the police should listen to that or respect that. But I don't know the behind the scenes details. I know there was some. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm still a fan of Derek Corrigan, even though our place in Burnaby got raided.
Mm-hmm. Well, I imagine that that in here, like where we have a city councilor who has been very vocal in support of medical marijuana dispensaries.
And here it came slowly over the years, right? I mean, the first one, the BC Compassion Club Society, opened a long time ago, 15 years ago. For a long time, they were the only one.
Yeah.
They got medium when they opened, but it wasn't a constant thing. I think most people in Vancouver didn't know they existed. A few years after they opened, it wasn't a super well-known thing, but they were serving lots of people and doing good work and just doing their stuff. But it wasn't until after 2008, after we opened up the third one in the city, that things now have gotten exponentially increased after that. And we'll take some credit for that because we did things very openly, and because I've talked, and I still do talk to people almost every day about how to run a dispensary. And in fact, if you want to learn how to run a dispensary, that's one of the many things you can learn at our Sensible BC conference coming up the first weekend in October. I'm dying to mention this thing so far.
Okay, so
I'm getting it out now.
Yes.
October 3rd to 5th in Vancouver. We're going to be putting on the Sensible BC conference. This time last year, we would have been in the middle of the signature gathering campaign, which was a historic effort. This will be our first kind of big event after that. We're looking to have about 200 people come down, and we've sold a good number of tickets already. It's $50 if you get in by the early bird deadline, but you'll get to hear Mark Emery speaking. I'm going to be speaking. We're bringing up Mason Tvert, who was the leader, the guy behind legalization in Colorado. He's going to be talking. We're doing a bunch of panels. I think Dave's going to be on one of our panels about legalization we're doing. We want to try to start writing the legislation that we want to see federally, provincially, and municipally, get the origins and some basis of this thing down at this convention. We're going to be doing a bunch of training sessions on how to talk to people, how to be a local leader and activist, how to make change in your community. And one of the things we're going to be doing is how to open a dispensary. And Dory Dempster from our dispensary is going to be running that class.
Very cool.
People ask me that all the time. So that's one of the things that alone I think is worth the money, just to come and find out if you're interested in doing that in your town, about how we did it here in Vancouver.
And you'll also get to go on one of the last tours of the Herb Museum. We're moving the Herb Museum out of here. I don't know where exactly it's going yet. We haven't figured that out. But if you want to see the Herb Museum, come to the Sensible BC convention.
That's right. sensiblebc.ca/conference, or if you go to our Facebook page, it's all over there. But you're going to be able to do a special tour with Dave of all of his museum. We're going to have 2 socials here in the lounge as well. It's a lot of fun here. And it's going to be a really special time. I'm looking forward to it. So if you're going to be able to make it, buy your tickets. We do have packages available if you can't afford to come, or if you need a place to stay, or if you need help. We can provide some of that for people. So don't let your financial situation be an obstacle to coming. But of course, we prefer people pay, because it does cost money to put all this stuff on. But it should be a really good.
And tickets are available right up until the thing happens.
Well, until we sell out, or until it happens. We haven't sold out yet, but we're not halfway yet, but we're getting close to it. And our early bird thing, I think, is just ended or is just about to end.
I've
So
been getting the emails.
it was $50, and then it's going to be
Yeah.
$80. But whatever you got, $50 is good. Just contact us, get your ticket as soon as you can.
Now, Dana, are we
it's
allowed
gonna
to
be-
broadcast any of it on Pot TV?
Yeah, we're gonna. Hopefully, you will. Absolutely. Some of it will be challenging because we're going to be having like the main speeches, Mark and Mason and me and other ones, the panel. But we're also going to be breaking off into smaller groups, so you can pick which topics you're interested in. So we'll break off into groups of about 50 or so, and then we'll have a class of that. So it might be harder to broadcast that stuff because it'll be a lot of it, and that'll be more kind of very specific stuff on how to do certain things. But you can pick which ones you want.
Maybe marijuana.
Maybe the one on how to run a dispensary. We're going to have Rebecca Ambrose from the Vancouver Seed Bank is going to be just doing kind of a cannabis 101 for people. A lot of our volunteers and those don't really know a lot about like indica and sativa and kush and haze and what can't like, they do. So she's going to do a class just kind of for those kind of basics for people, and it's going to be a wide range of different things you can learn. But people should come out of this like more empowered, more knowledgeable, better activists, having met and re-engage with other people in their communities and be able to make this happen. And so we've got a lot of stuff going on, but it's going to be a great time. So I'm looking forward to it, but I really want to sell those tickets, and I'm glad to see they're going pretty fast.
That is
so
good.
People are interested.
Well, we'll promote it some more as well. And that's October. What's the date? One more time.
October 3rd to 5th. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday evening, we'll just be having a social and a visit. Saturday, we're going to be it's just going to be down here at Harbor Center at the SFU Harbor Center there. So Saturday, it's going to be a long day, but a very fruitful one. And we're providing some snacks and things too for people and make sure everybody's
literally?
happy. Well, maybe I don't know, but and then that evening we'll be having another social here Saturday night, and we'll have music and fun and stuff. And then Sunday it'll be a half day, and then maybe some after party. We'll see for those who can stay and stuff. We'll see, but Sunday during the days will be a good morning as well, and it's going to be a great time. If you want to hear Mark, it's going to be the only time he's going to be in Vancouver pretty much for 2 months, right? He's going away all of September, or all of he's going away for pretty much all of September, and then leaving again right after for a few more weeks.
That's right. He'll be back just for that interim, and then
and there's a few other people we're trying to line up. I don't want to put their names out in case they can't make it, but said Mark, me, Mason, and we'll have some great panels and great discussion in that as well. And I think it's going to be a good time. So
excellent, cool, Dana. So one more time, drop the website address one more time.
sensiblebc.ca/conference. Or if you just go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/sensiblebc. We've been posting it nonstop on there as well. And and if you just go to our top Sensible BC page, there's a link there.
I think we have a question from the audience here, Karen. DML.
With the products that come in from Colorado, are they the type of products that would be, say, on an import-export basis to other countries that are building dispensaries?
Let me just repeat the question. The question was whether or not
is Colorado exporting marijuana to other countries?
Right.
The only import country I know of was Uruguay, and now they've been fucking with that program. I don't believe the DEA will allow anybody to export cannabis for any reason.
It's not supposed to leave the state.
Sorry? Oh, no, they were all empty packaging. No marijuana was brought across the border in them. They were just the packages, yeah.
No. Yeah, no. They're not. It's not allowed to leave the state.
Yeah, but the border guards just have a different view and different instructions on that, and they have a zero tolerance of any sort of transportation. Yeah. Even if you're legal in this country and legal in that country, the border guards are like, smoke all of that in there and then come across the border clean and then buy more marijuana.
There are companies in Colorado that are advertising that they sell CBD-based products and that they'll mail order those to other states and out of the country and stuff. I don't know if they're real or what's going on with that. I don't think they're allowed. I think they're stretching the rules, and I wish them luck.
Challenge that in court because they're going to get nailed. Yeah. CBD is just as illegal as THC, and
but they're definitely out there advertising. If you Google like CBD mail order Colorado, there's a couple of places that come up and sell that stuff. I've seen it. I don't know how legit they are. I don't know what they're really selling. I have no idea. But they're on the internet, so it must be true.
Neil said they're the DEA.
Yeah.
It's also been proven in research as not only a neuroprotectant, but it also helps balance emotional distress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See,
Well,
Yeah,
the laws
CBD.
the laws against CBD prove that the drug war isn't about keeping people from getting high. The drug war is about a monopoly for pharmaceutical companies, so they don't have to compete with you in your backyard.
Yeah, it's true.
So
Tell it, brother.
So
there's that.
I just wanted to say we also have MarijuanaMan.tv here. So if anybody from MarijuanaMan.tv has questions or from the Pot TV chat, I could actually let me put these guys up here. If you guys want to see yourself right now, you can go to MarijuanaMan.tv and log in and join us here, and you'll see yourself on the big wall. Yes, and Batman and Wonder Woman are there.
I'll see you later.
Okay, David Malma Levine, thank you for coming on the show today and showing off your awesome show and tell goodies from your sack. Wonderfulness. Now, really, do you think, David, you should make a trip down to Budzilla and maybe show them what you have here?
Are they still open?
According to Neil Magnuson, they are.
All right. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Yes, that'd be nice of you, David. Since you brought him this far. Dr. Clone's in the audience, not in the chat, but in the actual audience.
Dr. Clone.
And he has a question for Mr. Dana Larson.
I'm wondering where you stand on supporting licensed producers to sell weed in your dispensaries. Right now, I'm getting.
Wait, you should take a mic.
No, I understand the question. Though us having dispensaries sell licensed producers cannabis.
So
I
Doc, take
don't.
this.
I don't think that's going to happen, and I think the problem with that partly is that they would have to drop their prices quite substantially, because if I have to buy it from them at $8 a gram or whatever, and then try to mark it up to sell it, it's going to make it ridiculously expensive for everybody involved, right? And I don't want to do that. And also that I feel right now I can get a much better selection and variety from our current suppliers than I could from LPs. But what I would like to see is if our growers could all become licensed in some way, so that way I'd rather see them enter into the legitimate system rather than it passing off to other folks. Because in terms of licensing and stuff, a dispensary isn't really that hard for them to license. We're totally upfront. We're all there. We got an address. They know where to find us. But our growers are the hard ones to sort of, because they comes from a different range and they're sort of in a different situation. And they're also facing more risk. If they get busted, they're probably more likely to have legal problems than us, who seem to be able to do things openly. So that's I guess my answer on that.
Yeah, because I was at a dispensary recently, and I'm not going to name the dispensary, but they dropped in one of these lighters. They don't have a license yet, but they have a website. And if they're going to be irradiating weed, if they're obviously advertising for the dispensary, then it's possible they're going to be selling their weed. Now, when you're doing this dispensary sort of gathering with
Health Canada would never give me a license to do any of that stuff anyways. Okay. Because of my history and my current activity as a illegal marijuana seller, they would not license me. I haven't applied, and I'm not really interested in doing that, but if I were to try, I don't believe they would give me a license. I don't know if that matters or not. I mean, there's a lot of people that have applied, and only a very tiny fraction, like one of the 1,000 applications they've gotten, 13 have been approved or something, right? That's about just over 1%. And there's certainly a lot of people out there that have put a lot of money into setting up their LP and getting everything going, and now they're paying staff and sitting on an empty place or only doing R&D, but they can't sell it. But there's nowhere near enough cannabis out there right now to provide us. If we were to buy from LPs, we wouldn't have any, right? I mean, patients can't get for most of them right now. And we have many different kinds, and other dispensaries have that too. And the other thing is they need to have extracts and those things available too, right? And that's the big flaw. That I think the LPs are going to start complaining about that themselves, because if I did have one of those licenses, I'd want to be able to make other stuff.
Exactly. So what do you think maybe dispensaries could be a little upfront and say, yes, we sell licensed producer cannabis at our shops?
If they're doing that, I mean, if you think that those people are doing that, but if they are, that's against the rules, and if they get caught doing that, they will lose their permit and maybe even being charged. So but I know that there's some people who have opened dispensaries who are trying to get LPs, and some of them have split off or they've stopped. They're trying to figure out ways to keep the dispensary going, which is actually probably making the money, and they're licensed for an application which isn't. But you've got to figure out a way to split that stuff up, and I don't know any of those folks who have been approved yet. And I only know a few of them. There's plenty of people doing things I don't know of, but there's several people I know who were involved with dispensaries or are currently involved with dispensaries that are also trying to become LPs. And I said, as far as I know, none of them have been approved yet, and I don't know if Health Canada is gonna even approve them ever. So yeah, that might be the wrong place to go.
Well, I hope so, but I definitely can't support a dispensary now that seems to be moving towards LPs until this whole legalization shit is finished.
I feel kind of sorry for all these people with their LPs. I think it's going to be a huge shit show. I think some individuals are going to make money because it makes their stocks go up, and if you have a position where you can sell a lot of stock at a certain price, people will make money off of stock fluctuations in these businesses, and there'll probably be millions made and lost in that process. But you're relying on Health Canada, which is a very hostile bureaucracy, and to for your fortune, kind of. It's all up to them and how they regulate stuff. And so far, none of these companies are making money. Tweed put their report out; they're losing lots of money every month. Now, sometimes it takes money to make money in the long run, but I just see, if I was in this starting from scratch, I'd much rather open a dispensary than become an LP. Dispensaries are proliferating in Vancouver and in Toronto and some other areas too, way faster than LPs are, and I think it's probably a safer business in a sense as well. But yeah, I feel like the LPs are going to be screwed, and a lot of these places are going to have problems.
It's almost like the investor side is like a Ponzi scheme. Get in, get out, and
Some of them are like mining companies and things that are just announcing they're going to get into marijuana, and then their penny stock goes to $0.015 or something. I'm not really into that kind of world, or that's not really what I do. But I thought, me and Mark Emery we're going to announce we're going to start a marijuana business, make ourselves the CEOs, just use our names to sell a bunch of shares or whatever, and then like just quit and cash out and like. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the details, but the guy who founded Tweed, Charles Rifkin, he's apparently stepped out of it and is not involved. And I don't know any details. And I met him, and he seemed like a nice guy. I'm pretty confident he made a lot of money off his stocks, and that he. Oh, my sister closer. Oh.
Right.
Yeah, that I'm pretty confident he did all right on the stock trade there, and I wouldn't be surprised. And so it's just but that's totally not my world or anything, obviously. But
Right. Now, Dana, we haven't got into the MediGene thing yet. Now, that's on the front page of Cannabis Culture right now.
Breaking news. I didn't know.
yeah, it's it's the MediGene guys. I mean, I have a little. They announced earlier last year that they put out a press release that they supported law enforcement busting dispensaries and home grows, and so that kind of put them on my naughty list or whatever. But I don't really know a ton about their internal workings or anything like that. But what I do know is that the gene in MediGene is Jean Chiasson, who I don't really know much about. But what I do know is that his Twitter account was posting some very internally damaging stuff a couple of days ago, attacking the other CEOs in the company, Anton MediGene and another guy's name who I don't remember right now, but saying bad stuff about them, and that they don't know anything about growing medical marijuana, and that they're a bunch of jerks and stuff. And then he also accused Charles Scott, who's known from Reeferman Seeds, who was their breeder, of a bunch of unethical behavior. And I don't know if it's true or not. All I know is what his Twitter account was saying. I'm not endorsing any by repeating any of this stuff, right? I mean, I kind of know Charles, but it's been a long time since I've seen him. I can't speak to any of this stuff. But what I do know is that I spoke to Jean Chiasson. He called me because I was retweeting his post, and he said, "Oh, someone hacked my Twitter account, and I just got control back, and I'm deleting those posts." But he also, when talking to him, he confirmed that he agreed with all those things. That yes, Charles Scott did rip me off. Yes, Anton and the other guy are problems. Yes, we're all leaving the company. It's under new management, and new people are going to move it forward. But I mean, if you look at the media, those are the four names associated with it. On their website, those are the four people, their main team, the breeder, the money guy, and their two other kind of organizer business people or whatever, so I don't know. All I know is that Jean Chiasson put in $10 million, according to media reports. They have 35 employees. They were waiting like everybody else, waiting for their permit, which they thought they were going to get early 2014. And 35 employees, man, I don't know if they've still got 35 now, but that's burning through money fast when you haven't sold a gram of pot. And they're growing it, but only for R&D. So they're in a weird situation. And I don't know if the accuracy of anything, but it's just interesting that one of these companies, and MediGene got a lot of media. They definitely had a big media presence. They were in the paper. The stock photo they use for medical marijuana is often the MediGene facility because they have an R&D license, so they were growing to research and create varieties, but they
Right.
couldn't sell anything, and theoretically all that pot they grow has got to be destroyed.
But they've come out and
So-
said nasty things like home growers shouldn't be allowed to have their grows.
Yeah,
and
they
these
put
kinds
out
of
a
things.
press release last year.
iconic petri dish with a leaf in it is really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, but they came out last year putting down they're saying that that they support law enforcement's crackdown on Health Canada's thing, and so I called them out on that in an article before. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, there you go.
Yeah, it's
So that's not cool, but
No.
I don't want to take joy in their suffering. I don't know. It's just interesting that this is happening. There's only a very few companies out there that have really got a high profile, and one of them is just imploded basically. So that's
Right.
on Twitter, and
Well,
I
and we know
don't believe
Tweed
him when he
isn't
says
doing
his
very well.
account got hijacked. I mean, maybe it was, but his account didn't get hijacked. He just regretted making those posts he was in an angry mood, or he was drunk or something. I don't know, and
Hey, his
and then
account
he
was
regrets
hacked,
it.
man. His
But I
account
got the
was hacked.
screen captures. I made the
Yeah.
screen captures, so I got the internet has a memory there. So he can't. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
Yes.
so there you go.
So that's the MediGene story. So
Yeah, and it's on the
you
Cannabis
can,
Culture site, and
find out more on cannabisculture.com about that whole thing. Now, I wanted to sort of move on to some of the other stuff. Actually, Dana, we've gone through the conference. We've gone through
October 3rd through 5th.
I'll be there.
3rd. through 5th.
SensibleBC.ca. Buy your ticket now.
That's right.
I'll be there.
Cory will also be there.
Is that mic on? I feel
I don't know, I
I don't. Yeah,
I
here,
don't hear it at all.
Tommy. This mic. Can you turn her mic up at all if it's down? I don't know if it's down.
but it's just not very loud.
You just got to talk right into
There
it.
we
It's
go.
there.
Hello.
You can hold it right up to your mouth. Now Cory, we actually have some videos of yours to play.
Yes.
You came on the Kush cruise with me a couple weeks ago, and you have a video from the Kush Cup.
All 4 days.
Oh, from all 4 days. That's right. It's not just the cruise.
Days.
All 4 days. And so we have that video. We also have a video related to the bust of Budzilla.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us about that video? What's in the video?
Well, I would like to say it was a full interview, but you're not going to see Budzilla on there. We've got Neil Magnuson, Jason Wilcox, and myself in the video, and it's just kind of a preliminary because I forgot to video part of the place.
Oh, really?
They rented next door, and
Yeah.
they had the health department or whatever come by and say that they needed to comply by the 1st. Someone else, I think you were mentioning about people coming by and.
This is what
inspecting
Budzilla
for
said.
fire or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
This isn't in the video. This will come out in another one. Sorry, I just this is
that's
what I
okay.
could do in one day.
That's all right.
And
But so, are you guys explaining what happened, kind of thing?
that's there. It's just more or less what Neil Magnuson thought, what Jason Wilcox thought, and what I thought in this video.
Okay.
But what you'll find out later, when I come up with the next one,
Yeah.
is that an inspector came by and said that they needed to separate the kitchen from the cannabis, and they had by the 1st to do it. And
The raid was on the 2nd.
the raid was on the 2nd, and they
Yeah.
were busy renovating and moving the kitchen. And so maybe it appeared that it was still in operation. It's unclear whether or not the two things are connected at all. The health department and the police don't exactly work hand in hand unless there's a real complaint, a real issue when people aren't complying.
Right. It sounds
I
like they
don't
had
know.
the
I don't
authorities
know.
breathing down their neck from all directions.
Pretty much. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like.
They were making their food on the premises.
That's
And,
what
or making
separates
something on
them
the
from other
premises, and
clubs. Is
that's
they're
what-
really a bakery first. They do have cannabis on site.
Right, well, that's
So
interesting. I didn't know any of that.
it seems like people just want to lump them in with other dispensaries, but their main objective is to not only help people but to create the edibles, the medibles. Those are so
And they
important
distribute
for people.
the edibles to the other dispensaries as well, right?
They are in some dispensaries,
were
but it's
wholesale,
not
sorry.
like they're the only game in town or the biggest game in town when it comes to edibles. They're nowhere near. They're just getting started, people.
Right, and we have a recent court case just decided in British Columbia, the BC Appeal
I mean,
Court.
don't get me wrong. They have good penetration into the market, but I mean, they're just like when you compare them
Yeah.
to the other edible people
They're not
who've
the
been
biggest. No.
No.
And so we have this recent court case. Kirk Tuso was on the show last
Yeah,
week
with
talking
Owen
about
Smith.
it. Yeah, with Owen, it's the Owen Smith case. Owen, at first he was busted for making goodies made with cannabis for the Cannabis Buyers Club in Victoria.
No, we've had a victory there. It's not a complete and utter victory.
Right.
There's some issues
Two
whether or
judges
not.
have decided in the appeal court to support Kirk and Owen
Yes.
in their argument that the laws are unconstitutional in the way they stand now because they ban the extract of hash from marijuana and ban the creation of edibles and anything else, any kind of concentrates. So that in itself, the two judges said that's bad. One judge said no, it was okay. And so it now is basically moves on to the next part, which could possibly be the Supreme Court if it really goes through, or they could just leave it as it is. Apparently, though, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, Lord. Oh,
Blue
jeez.
cow.
Oh, I don't know what's this thing is. Whew. I don't know why I was about to sneeze there. But yeah, so
It worked,
anyways,
you didn't sneeze. Blue cow.
I lost my whole train of thought here.
Blue-
I was talking about the Supreme Court, and if Health Canada has 1 year now, I believe, to actually resolve the rules or to change the rules and to add that part into it.
Mhm.
So they do actually have to move within a year's time to do something.
What are they going to do? The defunct MMAR or the MMPR? Where are they going to add these rules?
Well, they have to do it to the MMPR, I would imagine, because that's the only one that
The
actually...
rule they will add on the last day is that you're allowed to do it yourself, but no one can help you.
Yeah.
That's what they're going
Right.
to make the rule be, that the patients can make their own stuff, but and they'll only do it at the very last
Right,
minute.
because they've
I
done
mean,
things
the rule
just like
should-
this before.
Yeah, they'll take the narrowest possible interpretation and they do it at the last possible moment, or they just ignore it and wait until later and then announce something, or like maybe
Yeah.
wait till they go back to court and stuff, right?
Anytime
But like,
the Canadian government, the courts tell the Canadian government and Health Canada that they need to change the regulations, they always come back. Like the earlier one was, it was designated growers. You could have somebody growing for one person.
Mhm.
Well, and they found that that was unconstitutional, and so they
more
came
than
back
one
and said, well,
person.
you can grow for two people,
yeah.
and that's it. They just added one other
Oh, at the
person.
last
Incremental.
minute.
Incremental.
Yeah.
And when
So-
they put out their announcement, they had to just mix your weed with kitty litter and put it out. That was also kind of a last minute
Yes.
announcement,
Ridiculous.
and
Right.
and
And
they
so
just
the
ignored the
government
court decisions again. and
Doesn't do it
again.
in good faith. They
So
do
that's
it in a way
that's their interpretation is going to be that you're allowed to make it yourself, but no one else is allowed to touch your medicine because they're not really going after anybody doing that, but they should really LP should be able to supply it, and really it should be even more open than that, obviously, but
Yeah.
they don't. Yeah, you shouldn't have to just make your own
No.
stuff any more than you should have to grow your own, but you should be allowed to.
That's
Yeah.
what happens when the TV watches back there.
I was trying to like.
Well,
was
no,
gonna
when the
grab
TV
it.
watches back, we've got Batman, we've got
I
Wonder
wanted
Woman.
to see it myself over here for a little while. Oh, I'm not on it myself.
That's what the TV
Yeah,
watches
that's
back.
marijuanaman.tv.
Yeah,
I was
'cause
just playing with the
Jeremiah's
background.
was on there. Some is on there.
And now I'm starting my cam now,
Well,
so
if you
now they're
shrink
seeing
it,
me
make
from the
your-
cam of my laptop here.
Let's get them all arguing with each other. Like on Fox News or something. Have
Yeah.
them all, like
All
some
the
topic and
talking
have them
heads.
all
We could mic
Yeah.
them, yes.
arguing at the same
That would be
time.
cool. We could have a whole
Yelling as loud as
panel.
possible.
Yes.
That wouldn't be bad. But they're not blonde enough to be. They can only be blonde. Yeah, Fox News is just like you
All
look at all the
blondes.
different. Yeah, it's all blondes. The anchors. But anyways, so yeah, we were talking
Where's
about
that bong
Budzilla. You shot this video. We want to watch this video now.
Yeah.
I do have a bong rip here.
Yeah.
Should I take this? Is that what you're saying, or did you want to take this?
It was my.
Oh,
that was
you
my
were
bong
supposed
rip.
to take one in this bong.
Yeah, there
you were
we
supposed
go.
to take it in the Redbeard
I've
bong.
been like waiting.
You asked for a small bong rip in the Redbeard bong,
guys
and
get
I
it?
never served it up.
Vacate the seat for somebody else
Well, good chat, Matthew.
I'm not done my stuff, right?
I think so.
Corey?
Where to the list?
Yeah, Dana, I think so.
October 3rd to 5th,
October 3rd to 5th.
sensiblebc.ca.
Thank you
Get
very
your
much,
ticket now.
Dana. Yes, check that out. The Sensible BC conference. A lot of cool people, including Mason Tavert. He's such a great speaker and awesome guy in Colorado, helping legalize. Tons of other people there. Yeah, so check that out at sensiblebc.ca/conference. That's the one. And Dana, thank you for coming on and talking about all things cannabis. And I guess follow those new 4 rules and you won't have any problems over the dispensary.
Yeah.
Dana's
The
never had
4
any.
vague
You've
rules.
never been raided, have you, Dana? Never been raided? You've had the cops show up, haven't you, and talk to you? But
When we first opened,
yeah,
just after we first opened, we met with the police. They came down. They actually came to
Almost.
the seed bank, and because there was some kid had marijuana and said he'd at the community center, with the Raycam on the corner, and said that he'd bought it at the seed bank, and they'd seen the ads for like the Vapor Lounge. We used to do monthly parties and have weed raffles and stuff there.
yeah.
And so the cops want to know about that. And we said, no, it's adults only. And And they kind of showed him around the place. I said, well, while you're here, why don't you see our dispensary we just opened down the street? So we brought him down and showed him around. And we were kind of nervous because there was only 2 other ones, and they'd opened a long time ago. But their only real things were us like having better security. Oh, someone might come through that wall and make sure. We just had all our weed and all our money in one big sort of safe thing. And they were like, someone can just take that. You need a better safe. And so that was it. And then they called us a week or 2 later and said, we investigated that kid, and we don't think he got cannabis from you guys. And he didn't, and we started putting in our ads 19 and over for the seed bank. They said, can you? And that was fine. So we started doing that, and he said, I noticed that, and that was good. And but that was the only time the police. We've had other interactions with the police. We've had to call the police occasionally because the weird shit's going on, or some crazy person is doing stuff or whatever. We had somebody trying to break into our place out on the outside in West End a couple of months ago. So we called the cops about that, and they're always friendly and respectful and treat us like anybody else. And we keep on selling our product right there while they're there. We don't, try to. They don't care. And
to kids with doctor's notes.
And they've called us sometimes too. Some of our members, especially at our East Vancouver one, they're known to the police. So they're people, and they've called. Somebody was missing, and they said, "Oh, this guy's missing. His family's worried if he comes in." And sure enough, the person came in, and we were able to help resolve that. And I'm all for that. I mean, that's great. That's a very positive relationship. So
definitely.
So all our stuff with the police in that regard. That being said, if they got ordered to come raid us, they'd come raid us. I mean, it's not the street cops' decision. I mean, it kind of is, but a lot of it's not their decision, right? So
what's that whole policy? They're not policymakers.
Yeah, but so far in terms of our dispensary and the police, it's always been a very positive relationship, and I don't anticipate any bad things. I don't think that'll ever change either. Really, I'd be very surprised if it ever did.
Great. Well, thanks, Dana.
All right. Okay. Right.
Enlightening info. So, and we do have 45 dispensaries at least in the city now operating, and most of them have been untouched. So, there's only a couple that have been raided.
All right. To the video.
I had a. Oh,
Uh-oh.
I had one. Maybe I did that.
Yeah.
That was me. Sorry. Yeah. It was my one other idea. What if one day, like, all the dispensaries just said, we're all going to sell marijuana to every adult that comes in on this day. We're just going to all switch and be like, for everybody, maybe give our dispensary members a discount. Because if there was one place did that, they're going to get busted if you just say, I'm going to sell to everybody. Maybe you will. I don't even know.
45 places.
But if everybody just did it on the same day, or if there was even more of us and we all, because they couldn't, if 45 places all open simultaneously selling marijuana, still responsibly and in a good way to your community, but just, no membership required. I think that's what should be happening, really. I mean, medical patients should be getting a discount and be at the front of the line, but that'll be better. I'm not planning on doing that at our place by ourselves or anything. I don't want to risk that, but it'd be interesting. I was thinking the other day, what if we all did that at once and just decided?
I imagine it would be similar to what it is now. They'd go after some people and probably leave others alone.
I feel like that this is going to transition into that, and that over the next year or two, the medical dispensaries are going to be more. I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, we still maintain the same rules as we did the day we opened, but and
we do sell marijuana openly, illegally at our Cannabis Day and 420 celebrations
a couple of times a year. Yeah, absolutely.
Cannabis farmers market open to all, not just medical patients.
But I also feel like if we do see the Harper government defeated next year, regardless of if the law actually changes or not, if everyone's going to think that it's now legal. It's going to sort of be like that. There's going to be a big opening up of things, even if he doesn't actually change anything right away. There's going to be sort of I think if no one else has done it by then, I'll be opening we'll sell weed to everybody place on the day after that election, regardless of what happens. If it hasn't happened already, and I think it probably will have before I get to it.
These polls are looking good in our Canadian upcoming election too. That shows that the Liberal Party is very popular again. More popular than any of either of the other parties that have a chance.
I think endorsing marijuana was a very smart move for Trudeau, and I think that it's only gonna get more popular over the next year, and more American states are gonna legalize this fall. We don't know for sure which ones, but Alaska, Oregon, California, and Washington D.C. are all possibilities, right?
Probably Alaska.
And even if only, Alaska seems iffy actually now. I don't know, but anyways.
Oh, really? I haven't seen the latest.
The last poll I saw said it was kind of low.
The mayors got together, or there was a police chiefs
those Sam guys are in there causing trouble and messing things up.
Of course they are.
But anyways, I feel like it's going to seem more and more inevitable. So I think he got ahead of the curve on that one. And why, aside from my support for the issue, I think it was a smart move politically, and the fact that he's leading in the polls. I think really shows that, so
everybody loves Justin.
It's a defining kind of issue, and even if you don't really support, I don't know, it just seems like a very defining thing. Like it seems sort of real to me that if you're going to support that, I don't
Yes.
know. It seems good. I think it was very
Canadians
smart. And
love young guys named Justin who smoke pot, and Justin Bieber is one of them. He apparently can still travel back and forth through the border, the U.S.-Canada border,
He
without
can?
any problem. Yeah, and even though he has like marijuana charges or he's been busted or admitted to pot and stuff, there was an article in the Georgia Straight, Vancouver's local paper here, that was kind of criticizing Bieber's ability to just be able to do whatever he wants. Well, other people get banned for just mentioning they did it when they were 13, Dana. Or who? When's
it
the
just
last time you
depends
went
who
to the
you talk to.
States?
It's been quite a while. I never smoked pot when I was 13, though. That's not.
I don't know.
That's not right.
Marijuana Man said
Um,
something about that
Allegedly
yesterday.
Yeah, no, I didn't start till I was 17 or 18.
17. What
something
was it
like
that they asked you and you told them or something?
Have you ever smoked marijuana? And I said I have in the past.
And that's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was what it was.
And you've been banned from the U.S. ever since that.
I haven't made an active effort to try to fight that. You can go file stuff and try to get your thing back, but at the time and still now, I just figured that wasn't based on who I am, being the marijuana guy, but any
Right.
even cursory investigation of me is just all marijuana.
They knew you were Dana Larson?
So no, at the time, no, they didn't know. The guy didn't know who I was. It wasn't because of who I was. I looked. It was an early morning flight. I probably looked baked. When he asked me where I was going, I said Seattle Hemp Fest. I've driven down to Seattle Hemp Fest like several times before that. Never had any problems. I was flying down. This was a long time ago, but I was flying down and. Where are you going? Seattle Hemp Fest. Have you ever smoked marijuana? Well, I have in the past. All right, you're not coming in. That's it. That was how that conversation went, pretty much.
Wow,
and I've
that's all it
learned now
takes.
the answer is to just not answer that question and to answer in a different way. Or I could have said, "Oh, I'm a hempster, and those marijuana people are wrecking it for the hemp movement. We just want to, I'm into the fabric, man. I'm into the textiles, like." But anyways, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I could appeal that, but I've never
It's really
tried.
bullshit that you should have to spin a lie to be able to cross the border.
I talked to some American reporters recently, and they were surprised about the whole border crossing thing. They live in Florida. They're from Florida, and the idea that the major concern for Canadians is crossing the American border is one of the biggest consequences of that, and how harsh that is. And they never thought about it, because for them, it doesn't stop them crossing into Canada, really. Like,
No.
we don't do it in the same way. I mean,
No.
it could, but it's not really the same way at all. And they don't really care as much about coming into Canada. I mean, for some of them, it's important, but
It's strange, though,
but it was
that
just something they'd never thought of. But for us, it's like one of the biggest reasons.
the most I get harassed is when I come back, though. Strangely, I've never really been harassed too much. One time we were sat down and questioned for like an hour, and they went through and searched and Googled us and all that and asked about cannabis culture, read our blog posts. I could see them sitting there reading cannabis culture when we were sitting there. And I was with Tia. We were going down to see Mark. I guess he was being sentenced in Seattle or somewhere around there. Yeah, in Seattle. And that's the only time they ever give me a hard time. But I travel back and forth to the States
I've been
a lot.
strip searched by Canadian Customs.
Canadian Customs, on the other hand, gives
10
me a hard
times,
time
maybe?
every fucking time.
I don't know. It's hard to remember. Probably not a lot more than 10.
They make me pull
But
every
quite a
time
few
I come back.
times.
They say, "Who's Jeremiah?" If I'm in a car with other people, get out of the car. I have to take my pant legs up. They make you move your socks over and stuff. They're like, "Got any marijuana on you?" That's the first thing they ask. So
Yeah, see, I'm flying back. I'm not driving back, so I'm not going to the States. But coming back from Amsterdam and Europe and stuff, I've been strip searched. Not recently, but in the early days there, I got strip searched a lot.
I think flying's usually better for me than driving.
No.
Driving is when they give you a hard time.
Anyways, now we're just reminiscing down memory lane.
yeah.
I remember that
So,
time I had
anyways,
to lift my
back to,
ball
let's
sack
spin
for
us back
official
to
government.
what we were talking about,
All right.
which was this video. So, Thomas, can we play this video, that one of the ones that Cory gave you here?
The Kush
Thanks,
Cup
Dana
one?
Larson.
Do I do the Kush Cup one first or the Budzilla one?
Well, let's do the Budzilla one first.
All right, Budzilla one.
We'll do the Budzilla one first, and then we'll do the Kush Cup one after that. I lost my feed to marijuanaman.tv a second ago.
Yep.
Trying to get it back here. So, what time is it? 5:14. Oh, we've been doing a good show. Good first segment. And there's Neil. Yeah, there's okay. Yeah, for some reason there was a sound issue there. Thomas is going to try and fix that in a second, just so you can actually hear the video that's playing as well.
So,
but we also have
they're
Neil
gonna check
Magnuson on the
this?
couch. Sure, you guys could just tell us in person.
No, I spent plenty of
Okay.
time on that.
We'll play the video.
No, he
yeah.
knows what he covered, so he can talk about something else.
You should take your bong rip and you should pass me that lighter so I can take mine at the same time.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
None of these places want to get busted, eh? I mean, that's not the idea. They're not trying to sell to children. They're not behind the scenes trying to devise a concoction of butter and shatter that they could put together that would get some kid to green out when they come in there and sell them a hit, you know? I mean, this is outrageous what the VPD is doing here. You know, they're obviously going on the guise that these things are well packaged in ways that they look really tasty, and kids would like that. Apparently, it goes back to a week before when they did have some sort of an inspection, and there was a bunch of their baked goods laid out. When they looked at the pictures that the VPD had posted on their Facebook page, they were pictures that they recognized from a week before. And but the campaign is that, oh my God, the children, right? I mean, kids
Yeah.
Think
could,
about the children.
always the
kids
children.
could get into this stuff. Oh my God. And we've got kids showing up in emergency rooms now, more in Colorado than ever before, that have
Right.
gotten into their kids' baked goods. And the reason
kids
for that
get drunk sometimes too.
well, that's the
You know,
thing.
they
eh?
have bubblegum
Hello.
vodka and they have Mike's
Wow.
hard lemonade and all that kind of
They
stuff.
come to hospital for all kinds of different reasons, you know.
Yeah.
Kids get into stuff. No matter how much you try to keep them out of it, parental supervision is not 24/7, and kids get into these things. In Colorado, I'd just like to point out that the reason there's an increase in kids showing up there is because now at least the parents feel comfortable that if their kid is in some way
Hello.
not what they think is right and they're freaking out about it, they can at least take them to a hospital.
Before
Yeah.
they
But you know,
didn't.
after you don't hear anything about the victims of these things coming out horribly scarred, you know, long-term disabilities, they're in hospital for weeks, they can't eat from nothing at all, because that's not what happens to kids when they get into their parents' weeds or edibles. They get a little hyper, then they go to sleep, they have the best sleep they've had in a long time, they spend the next couple of days more alert and behaved than they were before. You know, there's no victims in all of this. This is just ludicrous. And like you say, there's kids showing up in hospitals for lots of different reasons. The Poison Control Center can tell you the statistics on how many per year where kids are getting into stuff under sinks, they're getting into pharmaceuticals, they're getting into the alcohol
Sure.
cabinet, they're just ODing on lots of things in the environment. And we don't go after
we don't
those
want any of that
suppliers.
to
You don't see
happen,
the
obviously.
VPD going down and shutting down the place where those pharmaceuticals came from, or they bought the
Right.
pesticides or the chemicals or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah,
right?
you don't want that stuff happening, but shutting it all down doesn't stop it. It's not
No.
gonna. It just doesn't fix the problem. You're not gonna shut down the
Well,
entire industry.
And it's a
because
waste
it.
of tax dollars where they're putting people at risk. I mean, Budzilla and his family and the families of those people that are involved with him, they're now put at risk because of this, financially and in other ways. And the communities as well, and the other dispensaries that have to think about, you know, are we going to get busted? You know, what about their clients? They're all worried now. People not feeling so comfortable going down and buying a nice, well-packaged, tasty-looking baked good. And certainly in the case of Budzilla, like I say, they're not selling to children other than through parental consent and da-da-da-da-da, where it's medicinal. But no, their packages have proper warnings on them.
Yeah.
They have the proper warnings on them in big,
There may have
easy-to-read
been
letters.
There may have been an audio problem, but I know that everybody could see on the 2 cookie packages in that video that there were warning labels, and then later on in the video you see the nice close-up of how they are nicely spelled out.
The
and-
Budzilla label.
Yeah, against the warning label. The ones that were posted on the VPD, they nicely showed the front. They did not show the warning label at all. And
Their
so,
point was it looked tasty and it had a Budzilla
Right.
on it, which might be attractive to children,
So
apparently.
I thought I'd
Like,
show my point of
guess
view
so.
in my video. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so Thomas, I think the video is ready to roll now with sound this time. Awesome. Okay.
All right, rinse, repeat.
they got
Yeah.
a lot of splaining
Throw
to
the
do.
switch. Yeah.
This video brought to you by Trip C Productions. This video brought to you by Trip C Productions.
Or feedback that they get. But then they busted this place and they put up a picture of some of the baked goods. And their intent was to show that, well, my goodness, these things look really good. kids would really like these.
Yeah.
You know, these things shouldn't be out there available for sale if kids can get at them.
Well, and it's a plastic bag, so they said that's really that's bad for kids.
It shouldn't be shown that they're so good-looking baked goods or something like that, right? I mean, they're just being ridiculous. The most addictive and dangerous white powder on the planet is the processed white sugar that they put into all of those things that they package purposely with all the colors and fanciness and cartoon characters that they can to try to get kids enticed into eating that stuff. And like I say, the most addictive and dangerous white powder on the planet is what they put in all of that stuff that they're marketing to kids, and that's why it works. So for them to come in here and say that these cannabinoids are somehow harmful to kids if they were to get a hold of, and oh my goodness, the baked goods look so good, they shouldn't look so good, they shouldn't be packaged like that. That's why it's a public safety issue, and we're coming in here.
So as soon as they post that picture of those baked goods.
Well, that's so stupid. I said to them in response at some point, the only way you could look more stupid in what you've just done here in arresting these people and then charging and seizing these baked goods is if you actually take those cookies and lollipops into court. You know? Because it's not illegal. Parents at least feel comfortable enough to take their kids to a healthcare facility with something that they've gotten into. So, but what happens to these kids that come to these hospitals? You hear about the kids coming to the hospitals. What you don't hear is what happens to the kids coming to the hospitals because they've gotten into some baked goods. They have the best sleep they've had in weeks. They're calm, relaxed, and more focused the following days, and there's no side effects or repercussions or long-term effects of any sort that are harmful that are coming into the public realm or the family realm. So let's bring it on, VPD. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about cannabis, and let's talk about the other things in our environment, and let's talk about whose interests are really being protected here.
This is something where lawyers have had to get involved now. This is something where it's escalating in the city of Vancouver. This is the third raid, the third place where they come in, taking things, say you're under investigation, and in this case actually have all CSA 3 different charges, in which we'll be rolling that up for you to see. But that to me is just, it's appalling. What I do like is the stance. The stance of reopening the next day, as we always have from day one in Vancouver. When they raid a club, we reopen. And we're open again the next day. They've got their Phoenix tiers out here. They're doing what they can to stand up and continue helping medical patients. Again, this is about ethics. And right now, the licensed producers, and we know this by legal documents, that they simply are not in a position to help the medical patients, let alone the known 16,000 are here in British Columbia.
I've got an affectionate nickname from a friend. General Lee Trouble, reporting here for Cannabis Commando Troop 13. Well, today I did an interview with Budzilla, and we spoke about the absurdity of what happened there, and they've recommended charges. We're going to have to see as things develop there. It's just not right. It stinks. And we're not going to put up with it, okay? We can't just sit around and accept what's happened here. It's not right. And the shape that the cannabis culture, the cannabis community takes in the future is up to us now, okay? We're not going to sit around and let Molson Cannabis take over. There's room for micro-groweries, and there's room for Molson Cannabis in this world. All right? Just remember that the next time you roll up some of that fine herb, you light it up, remember what it took to get that herb in your hand. The brave individuals it took to grow it, to cure it, to transport it, and to bring it to you. It ain't easy. It ain't easy being green. Just remember that. All right? Thanks for watching. And hey, smoke one for me, all right?
Of his lungs, the yogic prana intake of the sweet.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we're back, are we? I think we are. Awesome. Yeah, nice work.
Thanks.
I like your little interlude thing there. That was
Well, I
pretty
can't wait
funny.
to see the Kush Cup one now.
I lost my whole chat here. I wanted to see.
Oh, what happened?
I know. I can't get it back.
Close. Hit close at the
Oh,
bottom.
there you go. Thank
The Kush Cup
I
is
know
good,
about
eh?
the chat. Dr.
There
Clone
you
and I
go.
could run the chat.
Yeah.
We set the keyboard on fire in there.
We haven't had Doc on the show, actually on the show, or maybe we have. Have we had you on the show ever, Dr. Clone? I don't know if you're trying to be incognito. Oh, that's right. I remember that. So then you're not afraid. You're not camera shy then.
Why don't you come on?
So
Calling you out.
you guys were at Budzilla. Now we
Yeah.
said before Budzilla has reopened.
Yes.
He has.
And are they selling that pot ice cream? I really want some of that.
Well, because
I'm not a medical patient, so I should probably stay away.
I'm not 100% sure. I have to go back and film more. I did as much as I could in the one day. I'm going to get some more answers. But as far as I know, they've dismantled the kitchen and are moving it. So things that may have been available before, I'm not sure if they still are.
You said that the owner doesn't want to speak on camera, but he's
no,
willing to talk.
not the owner, not the
Oh.
owner. The owner's willing. I have some footage of him.
Oh.
In fact, if you go to my Facebook page, him and Jason Wilcox are holding up a "Don't Tread on Me," and that's my cover photo. But it's not that. There's an employee there who was harassed leading up to the raid, and he wants to give his audio, which I appreciate that he's willing to go on record.
Harassed by the police?
Yeah.
Oh.
Pulled over, just all kinds of things. Like, I don't remember. He heard the story better than I did. But anyway, I want
Pulled
to get
over
his,
several times in
I
the
want-
10 days leading right
Yeah.
up to that,
Oh, so
constantly
they
being
were
shut
watching
down.
them and stuff.
They had taken his license to check on it, and then, of course, it wasn't valid because it's under the Allard, and then they didn't give it back to him. So now they pull him over right away again, and now he doesn't have the license because they didn't give it back to him, but that doesn't matter to them, and on it went.
Yeah.
I live in this city. You don't get pulled over by the police unless they're targeting you.
That many
they let us
times
drive
in that
around
short of
as much
space.
as we want without.
Yeah, no, it's true. These cops work. They watch things. This is how they've done it in other dispensaries as well. They'll watch. They'll actually surveil the people that go to their homes. Like with Brittany, remember Brittany Ann, who had the Metrotown Cannabis Dispensary. They actually followed them home. They have like pictures of them on their balconies hanging out, barbecuing.
There's a lot
and
of things.
stuff.
I don't mean to act like I'm paranoid, and I try to explain everything. I have a lot of what do you call it? Trust in people and good nature. I think people are the best of people.
Yeah.
And so I try to explain anything that seems just smell a little bit. There's somebody doing a delivery run, and that's why they're showing up at all the places. Or no, that's not really. Those two men on those bikes aren't following me. I'm sure they're not. That
Right.
kind of stuff. That you have to live that way. But
Pot
man,
doesn't
keep
make
your
you
freaking
paranoid.
eyes open, man. Keep your eyes open because once
I
so
always
many
say pot
things
makes you
add up.
paranoid because there's actually a chance you might be
Hey,
being harassed
that's
by
true.
by law enforcement.
Just because you're
of
paranoid
pot.
doesn't mean that you're not
Unfortunately,
wrong.
we have to live
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
From just a personal story, the same night they got busted, my son and I were sitting in the car in front of his place talking about life, and we had two VPD come up on us with lights, and it was good cop, bad cop, as they figured out I was fine, that's my car, we're all good. And,
Sure.
my fault, I'm sure, but I said, I'm mad at you guys, not you personally, but what are you doing busting this dispensary on the corner, 2 blocks
Everywhere
away?
you go, I love that, Neil, about you. That everywhere you go, doesn't matter whether it's a cannabis place that you're going, you always speak your mind.
And
Well,
what did-
and then
what
they
did
shut me
say?
down
Chance.
from there. From there, they're like, "Oh well, do you have a license? Do you can I see your license?" I said, "No, you have no reason to ask for my license." Well, actually, I can smell marijuana. I said, "No, we haven't smoked any marijuana in the car." Well, I'd still like to see your license. So, I show them my license or whatever. I'm saying I'm under the Allard. My license is expired, but I'm still valid. Well, oh no, he takes my license. Says, "No, this is expired." I said, "Well, that's what I told you. The game was on, right?" And
Right.
so he went to the car and checked it all out while I really schooled his partner there about right and wrong, which I had started off with him, but he was now on his little mission. And, these laws are wrong. And I told him what I had done. I said, I went across Canada. I went to every police station I could find in 2012. I took the letter, the letter written by the 4 previous attorney generals of British Columbia that says it's wrong. Well, I took that with me. And the one from the mayors, the one that our mayor was part of, I took that.
See, I think those guys really take something from that. They'll take something home and they'll think about it later, and they'll pass that on to somebody else on the police force.
His
and that
reaction
kind of stuff actually makes a difference.
Not the hard ass, but the other guy's reaction. Absolutely, that guy. He's already won over, but boy, is that going to light a fire under his ass.
Oh, yeah.
And what'd you
a
do
lot
the
of
day
these
they were
cops know,
closed?
anyways.
When you got to something to eat just down the way from them, what'd you do that day?
When I went to, you got to tell me now.
No, you told me you guys went there the day that Budzilla was closed, and you went and got something to eat just down the way, and you told the lady inside.
Oh, no, that's in the same mall as Budzilla. That's their neighbors.
And
That's
what'd
just
you do?
like 4 storefronts down.
Yeah, and what did you do?
Well, I told them all about it, why it's right and right, what's wrong about it.
Who does that? Neil Magnuson.
I hope we
does
all do that. Don't we all do that? Are you mad today that you live in a world where we're not free, where your government's using your tax dollars to harass innocent people on behalf of corporations, and it's about this most beneficial and wonderful herb that we should all be given free from our government without any questions, because it's good for people, it causes a reduction in domestic violence, and it's healthy and everything. And if you've already got enough cannabinoids and you don't want yours, well, just give it to your neighbor.
Oh no,
That's
I
the
always
world
want more.
we should be living in. Are you mad you're not living in that world? I'm mad I'm not living in that world, right? Because that's the truth about what this world is that we live in, is that we're all family here, and there's this amazing herb here, and as public servants, their job should be to facilitate us as best they can to live our lives in productive ways and get better and better and better as people and as a society and as a country. And that's why I want a public servant. I don't want to pay some guy for anything but that, except just the cop for protection from a bully.
You don't want a ruler?
No rulers.
No dictators?
Right.
Yeah, I'd be angry
rules
too.
are okay.
I'd be angry too
though.
if we were under a dictator. If we'd been taken over militarily, I'd still be angry. But that dictator, that he decides that I get to eat this cheese and not that cheese because this cheese is making him money and that one doesn't, I'd be mad at that, right? But at least it's a dictator. At least it makes some reason in the world that there's guys with guns on his behalf because he's powerful enough, right?
Okay,
But
sure.
I'm madder than that. I'm lots madder than that because this is not supposed to have that here. We're supposed to already have been free of that by efforts of our forefathers before us. And so when these public servants are so far out of their purview and so far out of line to be protecting these interests that are not ours, that result in all of this harm to us, I'm very mad about that. I think we all should be. We should talk about it every day.
Yes, I agree with you, Neil.
And the Budzilla battle has just made me more angry than ever. It's just begun, and we'll see where the battle of Budzilla goes, But I want to talk about the most dangerous and addictive white powder on the planet that we are allowed to be subjected to, even though we have Canadian standards on what stuff is put into our food. They're putting that shit in everything. And
Sugar.
it's highly addictive. Absolutely sugar.
I love that sugar.
They market it to our kids. You talk about a little Budzilla thing to help the people that are sick get a little humor in their life. Well, look what they're doing with kids with Lucky Charms and all of these other Frosted Flakes and all these other things with little cartoon characters and all the sparkly sugars and stuff like that. Well, why don't they stop that? Why don't they stop that? And if they can't fucking stop it, why don't they at least tell people that those sparkly fucking sugars there, they're not cannabinoids that are healthy for you. They're going to kill you.
How many bowls of Lucky Charms did you have this morning?
I don't eat the Lucky Charms. I don't, But
that would be, if you did, I would be scared to see how much
hyper
energy,
kids are a serious medical issue. Parents know this. Parents know they can't give their kids too much sugar or what happens to them. And those kids that get hyper and get into all kinds of shit, they poison themselves. They hurt things. They start fires. They do all kinds of stuff.
And every study after study shows that sugar is food for cancer and other bad things. And so
diabetes and obesity and on it goes. You know what they said back in
you don't
listen to this,
it.
Jeremiah. Back in 1935. 1935, when we were really starting to figure this shit out, perhaps, and there was scientific journals, and they talked about, in those scientific journals, what the effects of certain things were, and they talked about sugar on the brain, right about that time when they were starting to talk about the essential fatty acids and the effect of those things on the immune system in our bodies and stuff. Well, what they said about sugar in the brain was, it seemed to dull the synapses. There was a stickiness in the synapses because of all of the white refined sugar that gets stuck in your brain.
Wow.
So that's exactly what they want. They want a dumbed down group of kids that have
Jeez.
sticky synapses
I'm
and
craving
can't quite
gummy
figure
bears. I
out
don't know about you,
what's
but-
right and wrong. Well, my synapses are not sticky, I'll tell you.
They're
well
firing at full
lubricated
potential.
with the oil of life, which is cannabis itself, and it
Right.
should be widely encouraged
Well,
and
Neil,
included in all sorts of different health foods, not sugar.
I always appreciate your comments, be they fiery.
Well, we're going to make these comments. I've been making these comments as you've been commenting to the VPD, so have I. You can go on the Vancouver Police Department Facebook page. Isn't that nice? Thank goodness for social media and at least them giving the pretense that they give a shit. You know, we live in a world where they give a pretense that we got things, you know, the founding fathers and all of that stuff. You know, we find these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal and endowed by the Creator with unalienable rights to their own pursuit of life, love and happiness, and whatever that is to you, right? Let's do it. Let's have it. Nobody can take that away from you. If anybody tries to take that away from you, who the hell are they?
Very
Some
nice.
kind of bully, you know? So not a public servant shouldn't be taking that stuff away from you.
It's very
So,
true.
you know,
so now, Neil.
Yeah.
Now, well, actually, Cory, we have another video from you. We have the Kush Cup.
I've said
Kush
enough
Cup.
for now. Chew on that for a while. Get
There
out,
is
get
another
active.
microphone here.
No, I got something else to say. There's another great event coming up. It's been an awesome year for events.
What's
And,
the next one?
Well, the Saskatchewan Prairie Harvest Cup out there in
yes.
Saskatoon.
Yes.
Right. Now, I was to have Jeff Lundstrom on the show today, but you just reminded me of him, and I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's going to be so cool, isn't
Yeah,
it?
It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I really like the Prairie Medicinal Harvest Cup better than any of the other cups I've ever been to.
It's special.
Yeah, it's
You
kind
know
of
what
very
else?
intimate. It's
I
done.
think there's going to be at least a rough cut. I don't know if it's going to be the final cut, but the Great Canadian Glass Gathering documentary.
At the Sask Cup?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's intimate, and
I
it's in Saskatchewan.
I saw Redbeard in the
Yes.
chat.
No, David.
That's
May.
what's kind of cool about the
Redbeard
Sask
is
Cup.
joining us
It's
in the Pot TV
Saskatchewan.
chat.
I'm pretty sure David May is going to be there, or David Mai. I sure hope I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
You
Anyway,
might be.
So okay.
You might be.
We
Might
got
be.
You might be
sidetracked.
saying his
might be
name
saying
right.
it right.
It depends on your accent.
Sidetracked by the Prairie Medicinal Harvest Cup. That's coming up in September at the end of this month, isn't it?
Like less
September
than 3
21st,
weeks, I
I
think,
think.
Jeez,
isn't
we
it?
better
Right
start
now,
promoting
3
the
weeks.
shit out of that. So you can go
Yeah.
to prairiesaskcup.ca.
.ca.
I believe, to
Yeah,
get
I just got that
tickets
right
and
today, too.
Information.
Prairie
So, yeah.
Sask Cup.
Sask, yes.
Yeah.
Prairie Sask.
No, Sask Prairie Cup.
Oh, is it that
.ca.
direction?
Sorry.
Now I gotta look it up.
Prairie Cup. I'll get it right, Jeff. You help me get it right today. I'll get it right. SaskPrairieCup.ca.
Let's make sure.
It'll be a blast. You can still get tickets. You can go to Saskatchewan and smoke weed with some of the cooler people in our country and from around the world.
That's correct. SaskPrairieCup.ca.
SaskPrairieCup.ca. So I did want to say that.
So, at the same time we've been doing the show here, I have a microphone under my shirt because we have Amelia here shooting
Hi, Amelia.
documentary.
Hi.
I guess they're trying to get footage for the next Prince of Pop movie.
Oh.
Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop.
So you guys.
Cool. Mark's back.
remember
It's
the
really
Prince of
nice
Pop
to have
movie?
Mark's back.
Nick Wilson and his crew, and this is Amelia here. And what's going on, Amelia? What's your question? Do you want the mic? Oh, my microphone. You need it back?
Yeah, it's time.
Okay.
It's over.
She's out? Okay, I had it taped under my shirt. We lost a little alligator.
Take off the shirt,
Take your
Jeremiah.
shirt
Oh, I can
off.
Take
strip
off
it
your
down.
shirt.
So Amelia asked what Jody and Mark are up to over the next little while. Jody and Mark are going to be on a whirlwind tour of Europe, actually. They're leaving
Yes.
just a few days from now, at the beginning of next week, on Tuesday, I believe, the 9th. I'm going with them as well. We'll be going to Spain.
Nice.
Yeah, and we'll be at the Irun Expo. It's called Expo Grow. I should get the info about that, and we'll talk about that on the show after the videos.
Nice.
But I'll send people to the place they can find out more information about that. We will be advertising that this weekend on Cannabis Culture and Pot TV a little bit as well. So we'll be broadcasting that stuff live when we're in Irun, Spain. But Mark and Jody will then be going on a tour when they leave Spain all across Europe to a whole bunch of different locations. You can find them all actually on our Cannabis Culture Facebook pages and other places.
Cool. So it'll be somewhat documented as he goes, what he's doing, and there'll be speaking events and things like that, will there?
Yeah, they've been basically what's happening is they're being asked by student groups and other activism groups in places in Europe to come there, and they're flying them there. So Mark will be speaking, Jody will be
That's
speaking.
really awesome. They're
and-
being supported that way
Yeah,
by
it's a-
activists all over the world.
Awesome.
No, it's going to be a fantastic tour, and there's really a lot of locations on it. They'll be back for a little bit here, and then they'll be going back on another stretch of the tour. So it's gonna
When
be
are
a
they
fun
back
one.
here for some
Will you
sort
catch
of...
them at the Sensible BC?
They're going to be here for the Sensible BC
Mhm.
conference.
That's when you can
in
catch them.
October.
So if you
that's
want
right.
to see them, you come there.
Yeah.
And then after this European, when are they back for some sort of stable
Oh, well,
time
once
period?
they're done their tour, they'll be back for a while, and then they have a campaign to fight against. Well, we might have now a competitor in the Vancouver East riding for Jody. So if I transition a little bit into this whole thing, Jody Emery, wife of Mark Emery, the Prince of Pot.
Which is a website, right?
That's right, jodyemery.ca. The Princess of Pot is hoping to run in the Vancouver East riding for the Liberal Party of Canada. Now, she's seeking the nomination there, and it looks like we might have some competition in that riding for the Liberal nomination. The competition is a guy named Rusty Jacks, who is a police officer. Now, apparently, this police officer was either, I don't know if he was kicked out or he had some sort of problems, though, on the police.
Angela in the
There's
house.
several newspaper articles about him getting involved in his wife's car accident, and I guess there were a whole bunch of other questionable things. So I'm already trying to slight the competition here and undercut him before he's.
But
even has
he's
a chance
running
to-
on the Liberal platform of legalization, so, probably a reformed,
wins,
somewhat law enforcement person.
Well, I guess we'll be forced to support him. But I think that
Could be a good guy, too. Let's hope he's a good guy, too. Let's hope it's a good competition.
I wonder about him. And he's in the Vancouver East riding. It's a strange riding for a former police officer to be running.
Right.
So, but he might be a converted police officer. So,
Well, I'm sure he must be
Yeah.
to be running for the Liberals.
well, I'm not sure. You should read some of the newspaper articles.
All right, I will.
But, yeah,
you bet I will. And I hope
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
else does, too. And that's kind of the point, right?
I don't want to actually. About Jody's nomination, there is no real update that I can say, except for that they haven't shut us down yet. So that's a good sign. If they didn't want Jody to run and they didn't really want her to go, they probably wouldn't have let her got this far. And I think they're going to give her an actual chance. I think they're going
You would
to.
hope that the process is open enough and fair enough that a person could,
Well, you'd hope so.
You'd hope so.
Now, it hasn't been in every riding, but Justin has said that he's going to be fair and open in this particular riding when they asked him specifically about Jody running. So that's a promising sign. I think the pressure's on
let's
the
give
Liberals.
them the benefit of the doubt, Let's,
Yeah.
With eyes
They-
wide open, let's give them the benefit of the
They-
doubt.
Will I be disappointed? Well, I would love for her to run. I think it'd be fantastic for Jody to be, throwing her hat in the ring in the actual election here in Canada. It would be just such a huge sign of where we're going and the way this country has changed and is changing. If something like that was, if Jody Emery was allowed to be an MP candidate for one of the
Yeah,
mainstream
it'd be
parties,
awesome
and
if it
probably
happens.
the one that's going to win, because Trudeau mania is going to hit this country again. Everybody loves JT. And,
Well, he's not Stephen Harper.
That's right. Everybody hates Harper right now, too. So I saw he has a massive disapproval rating, and Justin Trudeau has a really high approval rating. So
It's looking very
we're in
good.
for
that,
some liberal
maybe
seat
some
winning.
sanity can
It could
reign
be
here.
a
We'll
red
see.
wave.
Yeah. We'll be excited
red
if it
crush.
happens. If it doesn't happen, we won't stay disappointed for long because there's many battles to fight on many fronts and many things to do here. Everything is an opportunity that comes along, and there's many of those that are coming along. So, yeah, we'll be all right either way. But it will be fun to watch if Jody was to get the nomination.
It would be.
there.
And, I mean, the thing about that riding, the Vancouver East riding, is if Jody doesn't run and Libby Davies is still continuing to run, we have a friend and an ally there that will probably win anyways, because
Yeah.
Libby is fantastic. She's always supported Mark. She's been a great friend to us in many ways.
It's for me. It's like watching Sweden and Canada play in the hockey tournaments in the finals because I kind of got Swedish roots, but I'm a Canadian. So
Yeah.
either way, I'm not going to be too unhappy, right?
Well, but here's the thing, though.
See, I'm
Libby is still
comparing
part
Libby
of the
to Sweden
NDP.
there.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But Libby is under the thumb right now of Thomas Mulcair, the leader of the NDP. So,
That's
unfortunately, she's not really allowed to speak her mind, even if she wants to, about any issue. The NDP has put a gag order on all of their candidates or all their MPs across the country, saying they're not allowed
Well,
to talk about
publicly
things
anyway.
that haven't been public.
Much like trying to prevent a child from getting at your alcohol or your cannabis, publicly. But Libby, I know Libby, and she speaks her mind. Maybe not publicly, as you say. She's under the gag. She still speaks her mind. She does.
But they wrap her on the knuckles when she does.
Yep,
And
I hear you. I know what you're saying,
yeah,
but
she gets in trouble for it.
like you're saying, like we're trying to get the point across here. Either way, having either Libby still in that position or having Jody in that position, we want Jody. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong.
It would be very cool if Jody Emery. And I mean, shit, I think she has an actual chance at winning the ride.
Oh man!
And could you imagine an Emery in the House of Commons?
Two of them.
Well, yeah.
Emery, come on. Jody's not a single package there anymore.
Well,
never was.
No, well, that's true. But Jody
she carries an advisor with her wherever she goes.
She has
an advisor.
A very good advisor.
Yeah,
but she does make independent decisions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah.
If they didn't believe me.
But
she makes her own decisions.
Yeah, based on being cognizant of the advice around her. Always, that's one of her strengths, in my opinion. Is that both she's been surrounded by a lot of good people that have helped her along the way, but she's also been more than willing to accept that advice for at least consideration. And
Amelia says she's a bit scared of her. Well, as a documentary filmmaker who's following Jody around, yeah, I can see that. Because you've seen all the sides of Jody. Jody can, get right to the point about things sometimes too.
Good for her.
Yeah,
good for her. But she didn't get to that point without at least listening and considering those things along the way that are important. That's what I'm saying about her.
Jody
She's a very smart young lady.
Excruciatingly considerate sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I think I'm going
to the point of indecisiveness.
I'm going to pass.
Okay, I can wrap up Amelia's thing. Yes. And how should I wrap it for you?
What did we talk about today? And what do you think was promised?
Oh well, I have a great time on the show all the time. It was awesome. I don't know. That's a tough one. You're forcing me to do a weird wrap up. Here, let me
pretend you're wrapping up the show. You want to say thanks to my guests and then.
You want me to give an actual fake wrap up to the show?
Yeah. Just pretend you're doing it.
Okay. All right. She needs a fake wrap up to the show. So usually what I do at the end of the show. So don't get this wrong, cannabis culture, Pot TV viewers out there, and MarijuanaMan.tvers. We're not actually ending the show. But I do want to say thanks to all my guests for coming on the show today. Neil, thanks for coming on.
Hey, it was
Cory,
awesome, Jeremiah.
And Thomas for being on the boards. We had Dana on the show. We're doing a fake wrap up. Yeah.
So now, cut. We're gonna have to go back. We'll edit that part out again, and he's gonna do a little. He's either gonna not mention you or pretend that you were on the show, and then he's coming back, and we're gonna do the show. So we're all clear now. Right. Quiet on the set.
But yes. That's right. That was good. The microphone hasn't been attached to me for a while.
Nobody was paying attention.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
This is fun, isn't it, folks? I mean, live Pot TV.
Thank you.
Not much more fun than live Pot TV, I got to tell you.
We'll let you have the footage of the real wrap up. There you go.
We're not wrapping up the
show.
So,
I see we've added another friend to the couch. Where do we have a microphone?
They have a microphone right there. Okay.
She looks like a
So
Cadillac.
as I say, the Budzilla thing is crazy. They shouldn't have done that, but we'll see where it goes from here, Jeremiah.
Yes, okay. Yes. Now, we can't actually see you on cam.
I know, he needs to scoot.
Yeah.
I thought you were scooting.
Okay, yeah, maybe you should
but he's going to do
scoot.
a fake wrap-up of what he's just done.
No, she's done her
She
fake
already done
wrap-up.
that? Okay,
well,
now I'm a step behind.
I'm wrapping up Neil now. So, Neil, thanks for being on the show. It was
Thanks,
great
Jeremiah.
to have you.
It was awesome.
And, oh yeah, so actually we threw a different camera on here.
You're going next Tuesday? Is that what's happening?
I'm leaving on Tuesday the 9th.
So the following Friday there's no show, and when are you coming back?
I'll be doing a show from Spain, maybe.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're going to
But no show here.
So you're not going to be able to see it here. But if you tune in,
we have
you'll see him
crosstalk
from Spain.
Okay, you guys talk.
Well, you'll see him from Spain. I was letting her know that even though she's a visitor here, when she goes and tunes in next week, she's not going to see it from here. She's going to see it from Spain, right?
Sorry, I missed the first part of
your show will be broadcast from Spain next week.
My broadcast will be done from Spain. I'm not sure exactly what time or when. It does run, like, the hours are a little different in Spain.
Yeah.
So we'll have to try and, like, figure out how that works.
But you'll have all kinds of feeds and stuff from there, right?
All kinds of what from there?
Feeds and broadcasts.
Feeds, yes. We probably will be doing a live broadcast on Pot TV and MarijuanaMan.tv during the Irune Expo. But I'm not sure because I'm not sure how the internet's going to be yet. So all that kind of stuff.
You can take a bong rip.
I got a
You wanna take
bong in front of
rip?
my face here.
I'll have a great trip, lad.
We've got a willing bong ripper over here.
Oh,
We're going to be fighting
Now,
the
you want the
VPD
little
here
bong
while
or
you're
the
gone.
tall bong?
We met earlier. Now,
Uh-huh.
what's your name?
Angela.
Angela. Now, yeah, we had a great conversation. You're from Alberta. That much I remember. And I love your. Is that a Cadillac around your neck there?
Yes.
That
Yes,
is
it's
very
beautiful.
cool. That's
I told her
quite nice.
earlier she looked like Wonder Woman or Superwoman. I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Superhero of some kind.
Yeah, we had a great conversation for like an hour or something. Yeah, it was
She's
awesome.
asking herself, how did I come to Vancouver yesterday?
Yeah, and she was really having a good time here. Bye, Amelia.
Bye, Amelia.
Thanks for recording stuff.
Well, it is a
So-
little whirlwind when you come here.
Can be.
You want a bong rib? Now, I actually have one more
want the
bong
tall
rib
bong or
left
the little
here.
bong?
Just perfect for you.
They have
So
names.
you should take this on cam. And
We have
Dr.
Lovecraft,
Clone
and
is
we
in the
have,
other side here, handing me joints.
Duchess.
What is this?
Duchess.
Bat Kush.
Duchess is the big one.
Bat
She's going to have
Kush.
Duchess, I think.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. You hit her before already, right? Yeah. Neil? Bat Kush?
Oh, man.
So you said in Duchess, Angela? Okay. We also have the Redbeard piece here, Lovecraft, sitting on the counter, which Cory was smoking out of earlier. Yes, Redbeard, one of the finest glass blowers on the
Dr. Clone
planet.
over there is tempting me with
Pass
large
that on down the line, if you would.
joints.
I'm really high. I've been high for the last hour, actually, and been a little...
I'm feeling
Yeah.
the same way.
I'm kind of having a hard time speaking. That happens.
I
Like,
stayed up till 3 in the morning
It's been a
doing
while
videos.
on this show.
I stayed up till 3 in the morning doing videos.
Oh, yeah?
And then popped awake at 7 a.m. Thank you, genetics.
Yeah, I was up really late, too, watching rap music videos.
Wow.
And actually, you want to know what I was watching last night? Get this. I was watching rap music videos, which I love, but I was also watching old episodes of Birdman and the Galaxy Trio.
Nice.
Does anybody know what that is? Probably
What now?
not. Birdman and the Galaxy Trio.
Oh, he's a lawyer.
Birdman, Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, is, yes,
Mike
Birdman
Eek is
in his
showing,
later
pardon
years
me.
as a lawyer. So you're right, it's the same character. But the show I was watching was from like 1961 or something.
Oh, so he's like a superhero at that point, right?
He's a superhero still back then, yes.
Yeah, a businessman superhero?
But all the
or-
characters that are in Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, are in the old Birdman show. But they
Yes.
all are like supposed to be serious.
Well, they've grown
But
up.
it's really funny,
they've-
not intentionally.
They've bought in somehow, or they've done something with their lives, and so now it's the
Well,
what
Harvey
happened to
became
them
a
now
lawyer,
or
yeah.
something.
And Ken, Phil, Seven, they like change all the characters into like hilarious. And Stephen Colbert does a voice on the show, or several voices on the show of Harvey Birdman. And here's another aside. There's a Birdman movie coming out that stars Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton plays the actor who played Birdman back in the day.
Nice.
That's
And
gonna
that's
be
what
great.
the movie's about. And the
Cool.
movie is about him putting on a play.
Sorry.
He's like a washed-up actor who used to play Birdman. It's like Batman, right?
Okay, so
But he's putting on this play, and the play is supposed to revive his career, but all this crazy shit happens.
I don't mean to like spoiler alert, but I think it's been out long enough. Howard the Duck at the end of Guardians.
Howard the Duck.
At the end of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really?
He's a character.
Was he really?
At the end of
Of-
Guardians.
Really?
Spoiler
Guardians
alert,
of
sorry.
the Galaxy is
I
something
didn't know
different,
that.
though. That's different than what I was talking about, Galaxy Trio, but Guardians of the Galaxy I remember as well.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert. Howard
How
the
much
Duck.
did they pay you to say that? I want to
Oh,
know.
everybody hates me in the freaking audience now. Oh, okay. Maybe
no.
they don't hate me. Well, now
So,
you have to go watch it. Go watch
I guess
it.
we got a little sidetracked, but Howard the
yeah.
Duck is really cool.
Yes, I love Howard the Duck. He's got a great
the movie
character
is
arc.
one of when I was a kid. I loved that movie. Yeah,
Yes.
Leah
Well,
Thompson.
and the guy,
Yes,
what's that
from Back
guy?
to the Future.
And the
I love her. I had a
principal,
crush on her when I was a kid.
The
yeah,
prince-
big time, huge time.
the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes,
Am I
the
correct?
principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Why do I
Isn't
feel
it
like
that
we've
guy?
just been distracted from real issues? I'm
We're
not
off
sure.
on a huge tangent. That principal is not a good guy.
No, he's a bad guy.
He's
in
he's
Howard
like a
the
child
Duck, the
molester
original.
or something.
He's in the original.
In real life, though,
Oh, well, anyway.
he got later.
Does he
I'm talking about
smoke weed?
movies.
I think he's in prison now.
Does he smoke
Oh,
weed?
no, that's. Well,
I doubt he does.
he played some
I doubt he
really
smokes
bad
it in
characters.
prison. Maybe in prison.
He played some really bad actors. But anyway, characters.
Yeah,
This is not a movie show. This is
he's a good actor.
Mr. Mooney. Yes, Mr. Mooney. Yes.
I think he was
Raging
found.
case of
It was
herpes
child
his sister has.
pornography,
Yes.
is what it was.
All right, back
read
to
that somewhere.
how about if we watch a video?
Yeah, there we
that's
go.
awesome.
Let's watch a video.
Either we could watch a video.
All right, we should watch the
Yeah,
Kush
watch
Cup
a
video,
video.
Thomas.
The Kush Cup, that boat cruise. I just want to say that. Have you talked about that on the show at all? How that almost didn't happen?
We
Yeah,
did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
sure
we
did.
did.
It was a cool thing. I must
You can
say I
probably
was
hold
there.
the mic a little bit
further
just
down.
just so it's not as
But just for a moment from my point of view there, it was as it was going down, and Enrico had been told he couldn't vaporize and he was going to leave in a mad state, and I found this out, and he was upset that we wouldn't all just stand behind him, but nobody knew about what was going on.
Yes.
So I came and talked to you and Jeff and said, hey, this is bad.
Yes.
And this is what it is.
So we
and
all
you said,
decided
yeah,
to
well,
leave.
you better leave. And I thought, because now I'm going to derail Mark's boat cruise perhaps, but it's the right thing to do. And, it was a beautiful thing when I basically said to everybody, this is what's going on. They all got up to leave, and everybody was heading to the back of the boat. And then somebody came up and said, hey, we don't have to go. We can stay. And I said, no, we got to phone Enrico first. And they said, no, Enrico came back, and it had all been worked out. And then we had just a marvelous boat cruise. So
it was true.
I just wanted to say that from my perspective. And thanks, Mark, for having that, and Enrico and all the people that contributed to getting that thing back on the rails there.
It was cool how when we all stood up, it was that the crew, they basically would have had no choice. We were all about to leave, and they would have had no choice but to let him back. But they let him back anyways, so it was good.
It was. I don't know the dynamics of how it went from there. I only know from my point of view, I kind of made everybody stand up and leave the boat cruise, and then within moments, it didn't have to happen. So
all right.
That was good.
You're getting the wrap-up message here, the 6 o'clock message.
Oh, parking meters! Don't get me going on parking meters.
All right,
multi-million-dollar ripoff of public servants of the public trust. Don't get me.
Oh, I hate those parking meters.
Okay,
There's
so
so much
the Kush
money.
Cup video. Thomas, you want to throw the switch on that? All right, this is
Thanks
4
for
days.
having me, by the way.
All 4 days.
All 4 D-A-Z-E.
All 4 days. Daisy days.
Go for it,
That
Thomas.
would be good. I'll be right behind you shortly.
This video brought to you by Trip C Productions. This video brought to you by Trip C Productions.
Like I said, my friend's a little slow. I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't going to say it. Rack City in the house. Rack, you're going to come back and say that again. Say Rack City in the house.
Rack City in the house. Yeah, it is.
She's shy. We all like run YouTube weekdays. Have you ever made caviar?
Walk this way and come back.
No, but
pretty sick, actually. Yeah.
All right.
It was awesome. For my birthday.
So why are you guys here?
Road trip.
Road trip?
Road trip.
All right. Where are you guys from?
Well, we're from Ontario. We're out here on a little bit of a vacation, kind of a last hangout with some friends before they move to New Zealand.
That's amazing.
And Kush Cup happened to fall in the weekend that we're here, and got a couple other things planned, but pretty excited for this boat hangout.
Well, congratulations. Who's moving to New Zealand?
Yes.
That would be you?
Yeah.
And you? Nice. That is so exciting. Oh my God.
A year. Just to backpack around and travel a little bit, see some of the world.
So you go there for a year?
Yeah.
To backpack?
To backpack. We're going to travel a little bit. We're going to work while we're there and just kind of see a whole different country and experience some new stuff.
Nice. Nice. And you, sir?
Pennsylvania. Friend of Mark's and one of the sponsors. I'm happy to be here and see what you guys are doing in BC with the movement. Everything's wonderful. Everything's wonderful. I'm very happy to be here.
All right. Well, I hope we can hear that on the video. So you said you're a sponsor?
Yeah, sponsor from Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania, and your friend. That's really awesome. I'm glad to have been instant friends and been met Ted, if you will.
Yeah, glad to have met you too.
Awesome. We're out here waiting for. We're out here waiting for the award ceremony to start, right?
Yeah, that's right. Chris Cup 2014. That's the Chapel Arts Center behind us there. We're going to have the awards ceremony here tonight. Some bands playing and stuff. Should be fun. A little party, a lot of weed smoking.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you go ahead and head off and grab something to eat, and we'll see you when you get back, all right?
Hell yeah. And then tomorrow there's the new SwearNet movie premiere as well.
And we're all going to look a little haggard by then, I think.
Probably will. I'm already really high right now. So, all right, I'm going to go grab some food. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Yeah. They say that movie's got $975.
975 bucks in the movie we get to see tomorrow.
Sunset, I asked him, what have you heard?
Free the
about
weed.
it? He says they say fuck 975 times.
No other movie.
Continuing coverage, the end of the cup, just sitting here doing as much research and editing and whatever that I can. It's been really fun. Right here, I have a poster from the first Kush Cup. Just acquired that last night. Nice and mounted there. So that's exciting. That'll stay nice for years to come. And as you can see, I have a little bit of a collection of the weeds. Even the Vote Marijuana Party, when the BC Marijuana Party was just getting together. Quite a nice little wall here, almost like a mini herb museum. So, I'm a fan. What can I say? Well, I'll see you out there at the next cannabis event. Till then, smoke one for me. Lastly, I just wanted to thank Antoinette and Steve Butterman for making it possible for me to go to this year's Kush Cup. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
And an elderly person gets on, I give up my seat. When I'm riding in my car and I see somebody broken down, well, I will get out and I'll help. But
All right, are we going back?
Hey, and she's back. And she's baked and she's back.
I guess we're back now.
And we're here, and it's happening.
I'm chewing food still.
I'm
drinking.
I need to chew on some food pretty soon.
Yeah. So,
Pretty soon.
yeah, I haven't really eaten much today. So that was a cool video. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but the Kush Cup was awesome. I got to see it in real life. I got to live it, which was amazing.
What now?
Oh, I was just, talking to the cam.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah,
like,
I was just doing a show here, just that kind of thing.
I was trying to tell
you don't
her
have to
she
pay
need-
attention or anything.
I was trying to tell her she needs to move in close, but she just hasn't quite. There we go.
Oh, that's very nice. Now you're riding the couch.
Well,
Just
it's
perfect.
Maybe it's an excuse. I don't know.
So we watched 2 of 3 videos, Cory. Do we have
there's
another
one
video?
more.
What's
There's-
the third video?
So the third one is I'm really excited. Is a glass spring.
Oh.
Like who's ever heard of a bobblehead or a glass spring? You're like, no, what's that? So you're gonna find out, okay? And it was inspired by a glass artist, a prolific one, called Matt, and I'm just gonna call him Matt E because I'm not gonna butcher his last name, by the way. But you can read it, hopefully later today or tomorrow or something or this weekend.
You've worked on an article about this.
Yes.
Right.
It's real short. It's just like, a few paragraphs, but
Right.
the video goes with it. And so it's a nice little thing to bring you from the Great Canadian Glass Gathering this July.
Right, cool. All right, Thomas, can you play the glass spring video for us? And yeah, hopefully this one. It looked like we had a little brief issue with the video at the last one at the beginning.
Yeah, I
Just
don't know
needed
why
to be-
YouTube is messing up with
Yeah,
you
it needed
guys,
to be
but I'm
refreshed or
pretty
something.
sure that the videos are solid.
It had
so.
sound but no video that time. First time it had video,
Video,
but no
no
sound.
sound.
And sound, no video. We'll see what happens this time.
This one is going to be nothing.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Working, Thomas?
This video brought to you by Trip C Productions.
Watching this piece be made was amazing. Hey, you guys mind showing me what it does? Amazing! Super cool. Never seen that done before. Spring made of glass. Super cool.
glass spring, how does that work?
Wow, that thing is really cool.
I know, a bouncy glass spring. How does that even work, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like he's taken a teardrop shape, like blown a teardrop bubble shape, and then erased a passage way around it to create this like engineering feat, right?
It's pretty cool.
And it's set atop something else that's just as frail looking and just almost imaginary. It's a skeleton of the same teardrop shape with holes, like Swiss cheeses to the max.
It was very cool.
Super cool.
Redbeard's gonna demo it on his show tomorrow, he says in the chat.
No way.
No. The Redbeard, is that your bong on the table? I guess that's what he's talking about. The little one. He says he's gonna demo something. Oh, he's gonna. Yes, this is Redbeard's bong.
Yes, Lovecraft.
That if the chat is asking about that, this is. But what
Good
is
luck.
Redbeard saying that he's gonna demo on his show tomorrow?
I don't know.
Redbeard, what are you gonna demo on your show tomorrow? Tell us in the chat. This is such an amazing bong. This one here. I love
It
this
is.
girl.
I love
It's
that.
got layer upon layer inside of the glass that
And
when you
this
turn
part.
it, you can like, yeah, oh man, this horn is just crazy spiral going on through it.
I could just see like sitting there and staring at that
we
with
have
lights.
the bong cam. Tommy, throw the bong cam on here. Tommy Bong, throw the bong cam on.
I want this one. I want this on there too.
Bong cam.
This smoke it away.
Is it working?
If it's working, make sure
What's
you
going
get
on with the bong cam?
There you go.
There it is. Nice.
I got my little outfit with me
There's a
today
bit of
too.
a lag for us. Oh yeah, but check that thing out. It's dope.
That's so amazing.
Oh yeah, there's a huge lag over here actually. But look at that. Nice. Cool. Yeah, and this horn is nuts. And Cory, what do you got over here?
I got the smoking elephant right there.
Smoking elephant.
Yeah, everybody loves this. You can let people know how you feel. You can either hand it to them that way or that way.
Hey, wait. How do you hand it to me?
Well,
That's
sideways.
funny. Cool. Thanks, Tommy. Throw us back to the other camp. You can see the lounge out there in the background, everybody. All right. Thank you.
Could have quickly become the joint cam.
It could, but
But it's not.
We've actually, when we have a real bong cam, we strap it onto the bottom of the bong with either tape or a lighter or like an elastic, and then you take rips out of the bong, and it looks really cool.
Well, I'd like to say Angela is the second lady I've invited on here to take a bong rip. Dominique was the first.
That's right. And Dominique, my very good
shout
friend
out to Dominique.
She's so sweet.
Oh, we love you, Dominique, and I hope everything's going well for you and your family, dear.
Yeah, she's there in Alberta as well.
Yeah. I love seeing all those new pictures and everything inspirational she puts out, and she's really hooked up with the essential oils and natural healing. So
yeah, Dominique's amazing person.
Yeah.
Even she's coming back to the city a couple times and hung out and stuff. She's pretty awesome. But okay, so now yes, and Angela, what do you think? So Vancouver, you've had a good time. It's been 2 days now. What's your thoughts on the city?
Well, it's been about 36 hours, and I have to say, hands down, the friendliest place I've ever been. And I'm a Newfoundlander, and there's some good friendly people where I'm from, and I think it's the coast living, and it's been like awesome. I've been very ripped the entire time I've been here. I'm really enjoying it.
Cool.
The city's awesome.
I'm glad to hear it. Because
really
you basically got off the plane or whatever it was and came straight here almost, right?
Yeah, 14 minutes when I got downtown, and I ended up here. And
You're kidding. To find.
You're kidding.
No, I just walked down here. 14 minutes later, I was up here.
But I've been here for quite a while, so I've got the parking limit coming up too.
Oh, your parking meter is going to expire, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Thanks, Cory, for coming on today.
Well, thanks for having me on all day. Like, that was really
definitely.
awesome.
Yeah, you were
And
my
thank you
wingman
for
today.
taking a bong rip, Angela. I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, that was cool. And
Thanks for the bong
Cory, we played all 3 videos of yours now?
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing
all
else.
there is if you wanted to publish them on the feed, and then
Yeah, we'll put them up there. And you have an article about
a few paragraphs about the glass spring and where it originated. That prolific artist did a wonderful, wonderful installation, and I encourage you all to go to his website and go through all the snapshots of how he did this installation about impermanent, permanent garbage. It's really amazing.
Cool. We'll have to. Thanks, Angela. Okay, well, awesome, Cory. Thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate everything. And we do have one more video to play, actually, because I'm going to wrap the show up now. It's 6:15, but we do have another little bit of a clip to play for you guys here at the end of the show. Now, this is something that Chris Bennett, cannabis historian Chris Bennett.
Oh, is this the Mithra?
This is the Mithra.
Oh, wonderful. I'm looking forward to reading that and learning more about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This video, I don't want to say too much about it. We're going to have Chris on the show at some point. He couldn't come on today, but we'll bring him on one of the next shows to talk about some of the work he's been doing with a lot of different people related to the history of cannabis and its use for spiritual and religious purposes. Mm-hmm. And this particular one is about Mithra. So I'm not going to explain too much about the gods and goddesses of yesteryear, but it's a pretty cool little story that Chris takes us on, and he talks to a couple different interesting people in the field of cannabis history, some of them who were part of the Cannabis Roots series of panels that he did here in the lounge. And if you guys want to watch those, you can go to Pot TV and you'll find, and just type in cannabis roots, or if you just go into Google and type Pot TV cannabis roots, you'll find all of the different things from that particular seminar. It's pretty awesome. And it was a lot of the kind of stuff that you'll see in this video.
Can I just say, Jeremiah, you look really baked.
I am super, super baked. I'm very baked. She said I look baked. Yeah, but Chris, just so you guys know, has a store downstairs called the Urban Shaman. And in the store, he sells sacred herbs and all kinds of other stuff. And it's really worth checking out if you're here in the city of Vancouver and you haven't been in there.
Well,
you got to check out the Urban Shaman.
Much like Angela's mind was really blown coming here to Vancouver, just walk in there. Even if you live here or if you're coming to visit, just walk into the CCHQ and wander to the back and check out the Urban Shaman. It's pretty amazing. The resources, the knowledge, the kinds of things that you'll find there, check it out.
Yeah, he's got a lot of cool stuff in there.
I look
It's not
forward to
just
seeing him
stuff to
on here.
consume either, but lots of great stuff to consume.
Well, I missed the speech he did at the God and Goddesses show here.
Yeah.
The art auction. I had a bunch of pieces here, but I showed up late and was unable to hear what he had to say firsthand. And I think I saw the video later, but it's never the same, right? So
Chris has done a ton of great research into the subject of
an amazing
the use of
fountain
cannabis throughout history, and he's got several books on it. He's got 3 different books that he's published, mostly about the spiritual use and all that kind of stuff, sex, drugs, and
sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Isn't that life? What else is there? There's air.
Sex, Drugs, and the Bible is the name of his book, I believe. Oh, okay. Yeah. So
there's rock and roll too.
There's rock and roll in the Bible. But Thomas, is that Chris Bennett video ready to roll? All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and play this Chris Bennett video. And I guess that's it for me, actually. So I am going to wrap the show up for real this time. Big thanks to all my guests who came on today. Dana Larson. Dr. Clone even kind of snuck in the corner there. His arm may have even been on the show. And Cory, thanks for all your hard work today. It was awesome. It was good having you on. And you can always tune in and watch all of our shows at pot.tv. Endless marijuana content. Show off your Dr. Chronic's tonic. I had a slam in that tonic on the last show. You brought me a can of it. It was delicious. Yeah, I want the cherry stuff. Yeah, thanks to everybody in the chat who stuck through. It was another 1 hour stretch to 3 almost. Well, it's not 3 yet, but by the time this is done. How long is this video? It's 20 minutes or something?
20 minutes.
Chris Bennett's video is 20 minutes long. Yeah, it's a lot of information, but it's a great video. So you guys should stick around and watch the whole thing. Don't leave. All right. Love you, Pod TV. We'll see you next Friday, or I'll see you before that on my trip. Oh, no, I didn't talk about the whole Irun Spain trip. Watch Cannabis Culture this weekend. The front page of cannabisculture.com and Pod TV for more information about our trip to Spain and a whole bunch of other stuff. And big thanks to the people at marijuanaman.tv there who were in the... I can't see them now, but we had them up on the big board for a while. Thomas, did the marijuanaman.tv people have fun today? Are they around there? Are they still hanging? Nice. So there's still a crew in there chilling. So you guys can go and sign up at marijuanaman.tv. It's free. It's got the best of both Marijuana Men, Stephen Pay and Greg Williams. Anyways, bye guys. And also bye to you, Pod TV. For real this time. We'll see you soon. Peace.
In this episode of Burning Shiva, we will be looking at the worship of the ancient Persian god Mithra, who became hugely popular in Rome of the first few centuries AD. Like a lot of cannabis history, this is not information you will find touched on in the many books of the cult of Mithra, and academic prejudice, as well as a lack of knowledge, seem to have both contributed to that fact.
recreational drugs and marijuana have had a profound impact on Western civilization, but they are not studied in the modern university because the topic is taboo.
Cannabis was probably always an ingredient in the incenses that fumigated sacred space in classical Roman sanctuaries. It was also commonly available as an additive to wine.
The cult of Mithra was so popular that the West could have ended up as a Mithraic culture instead of a Christian one, if it were not for the conversion of certain emperors to the new religion of Christianity. The worship of this Persian god and its 7-stage system of initiation became so popular in the ancient world that up until the 4th century, it rivaled Christianity for the attention of the masses.
The Mithraism was the form of the Halma cult, or the Zoroastrian religion, as it passed into Europe. And it was a great religion, one of the 3 great religions of the Roman Empire, finally supplanted by Christianity. They had a 7-fold sequence of initiations in which a variety of different sacred drugs would have been employed. But they gathered in a small, confined underground space, and the space was always fumigated. So entering the sacred space would put you in a sense of holiness, and no doubt cannabis was one of the ingredients in the incense.
There's lots of good evidence for the use of cannabis in the worship of Mithras. This is a very widespread cult in the ancient world. So I would have to say that yes, cannabis was very widespread within the celebration of the cult of Mithras by the aristocracy in Rome, as well as the soldiery.
Mithra's cult is said to have been spread throughout the ancient world, and particularly to Rome, by a group of Cilician pirates who adopted the god and extended his worship to the west. Although introduced to the Roman military much earlier, the emperor Commodus, who ruled from 180 to 192 AD, was initiated into the Mithraic mysteries. And from that period forward, the imperial house favored the cult. Mithraism had many converts, however it was solely a male cult, and his worship was principally in the army, for his religion was that of a soldier. Mithras, as worshipped in Rome, differed from the Persian Mithra of the Zendavesta in a variety of ways, and it has been suggested that he represents a sort of Persian paganism condemned by the more monotheistic Zoroastrians of ancient Iran. In his journey from Persia to Rome, Mithra accumulated a variety of magical beliefs, such as astrology from the Chaldean Magi, and via Greek philosophy, a whole theology was created to combine these different aspects. Mithra was a protector and supporter of man in this life. He watched over his soul in the next, defending it against the impure spirits and transferring it into the realm of eternal bliss. He was represented as all-seeing and all-hearing. He was represented as born on the 25th of December, on which an annual festival was held on his behalf. His worship extended into all the countries colonized by the Aryans, of which became subject to Persian power. It found its way to Rome at an early period, and the mysteries of Mithra, which fell on the vernal equinox, was the most famous of the Roman festivals. Baptism and the partaking of a mystical liquid to be drank with utterances of a sacred formula were among the inaugurate acts. From Persia, the worship of Mithra and the mysteries were called into Syria, Lydia, Judea, Egypt, Greece, northern, central, and western Europe. His devotees were not suppressed in Rome until virtually superseded by the teachings of Jesus. Really Mithras, under a different name, in AD 378. Brown makes an interesting comment there, and it is important to note that Mithra shared a variety of mythological motifs with the Christian god Jesus. The similarities between Mithras and Jesus were so profound that when the Roman Empire chose Christianity as the state religion, outlawing all other cults, the newly formed Roman Catholic Church fathers tried to deny claims they had borrowed elements of the Mithraic mythology, which long predated their own, and attributed them to their own god by claiming that the devil, with evil foresight, had seen the coming of Christ and decided to preempt the arrival of the Holy Child and placed his motifs on the pagan god before his arrival. These adoptions included Christmas and most notably the Eucharistic ceremony, which more than a few researchers have suggested was itself based on the ancient Hanuman ritual. Mithra has been connected with the sacred agent Soma and Heoma cults, a sacred beverage that, as I show in my book Cannabis and the Soma Solution, likely originated from a cannabis beverage, as shown by recent archaeological excavations.
A Russian archaeologist named Viktor Saryanidi, the author of Margiana and Proto-Zoroastrianism, did some very interesting archaeological work in Turkmenistan. He discovered several different fortified walled temples in Margiana and Bactria. That there were several rooms in these temple complexes which were set apart from the main worshiping areas. And these were apparently manufacturing areas where the drugs that they were taking were manufactured. The drug was called Soma, or Hauma, in Iran. He dug into these archaeological temples, and he discovered that several of the rooms contained huge vats, and he was able to get great samples off the bottom of these urns and submit them for analysis, and they discovered that the pollen grains which had been preserved consisted of ephedra and cannabis.
Deep in the Karakum Desert in Central Asia, a previously unknown Bronze Age civilization has been discovered. It was believed that there had never been human occupation in this desert until the archaeologist Viktor Saryanidis started working here in Turkmenistan 40 years ago. Here in Gunur Tepe, ancient ritual practices have been identified, such as preparation of hallucinogenic ritual drinks.
В этих сосудах клали эти растения, эфедру и каннабис. Это алкогольный напиток, но который не все пили, а только жрецы.
Rather than being a diabolical pre-imitation of the Christian sacraments, as Justin Martyr and other church fathers tried to suggest, the Mithraic sacraments were a remnant of the even earlier Persian Heoma ceremony, an ancient rite tied with the Vedic Soma of the Indian religion and Heoma of the Avestan religion.
Mithraism was the way that the Zoroastrian Hauma-Soma cult was assimilated in the civilizing traditions of Europe.
Mithra is presented in the Zoroastrian system as an intermediary between Ahura Mazda, God, and Ahriman, the devil, and was known as a mediator. He taught mankind to make vows and offerings. It was he who introduced Heoma worship. This was an intoxicating beverage prepared from the green stalks of the moon plant, otherwise Cannabis indica or Indian hemp. It was tasted by the priests on sacrificial occasions, while hymns were sung in its praise. Its action was that of hashish. It produced intoxications and stimulations of their senses, which were mistaken for inspiration. Their use in worship on sacrificial occasions, with its consecrated bread, introduced in honor of the divine founder of the law by his priestly successors, unquestionably gave origin to the use of bread and wine in the Christian sacrament, the connection between which it is designed to trace on a future occasion. Although, as we shall see, by the time the Heoma ritual and the cult of Mithra was appropriated by Rome, it may have already gone through radical changes regarding the plant's use. Franz Cumont, in the Mysteries of Mithra, put forth that by the Roman period, grapes in the West replaced the Heoma of the Persians. Heoma, a plant unknown in the Occident, was substituted for the juice of the vine. A similar suggestion was put forth by Henrik Nyberg in 1938, who felt that with the reemergence of the Mithraic cult in Zoroaster's day, The clean alcoholic intoxication eventually beat out the holy intoxication of the magus, which was possibly supported by the much deeper acting hemp intoxication. The drinking of Haoma caused a more ordinary standard inebriation than ecstasy. Considering the Mediterranean of love of wine and the Roman depictions of Mithra holding a bunch of grapes are known, it seems likely that such may be the case in the later diffused foreign situation for the cult. Although in this regard, it is important to note the historical Persian references of cannabis-infused wines in Zoroastrian times, where Mithra still retained some standing of worship, and such preparations were known in both Greek and Rome, as well as in the Holy Land and other locations. In reference to Zoroastrian expeditions into the world of the afterlife, Shal Saked noted that preparations of this journey was done by administering to the officiant a dose of man, hemp, mixed with wine. Regardless of the potential substitution of the Persian Haoma with the more popular beverage of Rome, wine, cannabis seems likely to have retained some role in the cult, even into Roman times, as has been suggested by more recent scholarship.
Cannabis was burnt in the cult of Mithras as an incense in an underground enclosure where they would be hotboxing.
As Frederick Danaway has noted, the cult of Mithras, which may have been one of the main cults that retained and preserved the ancient mysteries for later generations of mystics, had strange incense rites as well.
They actually put cannabis into the incense that they burned during the celebration of Mithras in an underground enclosure, and they were inhaling the smoke during the process. When a Roman soldier who was a Mithrist was stuck in the field, he had to celebrate his god by digging an underground pit, fumigating it with cannabis, and then spreading a tarp over it.
In Did the Mithras Inhale?, Professor Radcliffe Emmons describes Mithraic fumigation rites in relation to shamanic flight, indicating that this rite may have eclipsed the drinking of Haoma in its importance. The magician in the Mithras liturgy raises himself to the world of the gods through inhaling pneuma, and the sun rays are the path by which the pneuma from the divine realm comes down to the magician. Although the reference to this ritual practice are brief in the Mithras liturgy, they are clearly the primary means of shamanic ascent, since no other mode of ascent is ever mentioned. Radcliffe refers to the incense-burning lions as seen in this figure as indications of this practice.
Cannabis fumes undoubtedly had an effect on the perception
of the Haoma cult, or the Zoroastrian.
To collect the bull's urines are of note, as the psychoactive properties of the fly agaric can pass through it into urine and be re-ingested. However, it is also important to remember that the bull's urine itself was ritually ingested by the Persian practitioners of Zoroastrianism, from which the Mithra worship in Rome descended. One last note on the red cap is that it later became a symbol of medieval alchemists. Later, Christian monks were obsessed with destroying any surviving remnant of the cult of Mithras because the Persian god particularly threatened the supremacy of their own god in the form of Jesus. In fact, many existing churches were built right over top of Mithraeums. Thus, in both a very real and a symbolic sense, Christianity based its foundation on Mithraism. Historically, the undisputable fact is that they borrowed so much symbolism from the Persian god mythology that some historians now refer to Mithra as the proto-Christ. The secretaries of the Persian god, like the Christians, purified themselves by baptism, received a species of confirmation, the power necessary to combat the spirits of evil, and expected from a Lord's Supper salvation of body and soul. Like the latter, they also held Sunday sacred and celebrated the birth of the sun on the 25th of December, the same day on which Christmas has been celebrated since the 4th century at least. They both preached a categorical system of ethics regarding asceticism as meritorious, and counted among their principal virtues abstinence and continence, renunciation and self-control. Their conception of the world and of the destiny of man were similar. They both admitted the existence of a heaven inhabited by beatified ones, situated in the upper regions, and of a hell peopled by demons situated in the bowels of the earth. They both placed a flood at the beginning of history. They both assigned as the source of their traditions a primitive revelation. They both finally believed in the immortality of the soul, in a last judgment, in a resurrection of the dead, consequent upon a final conflagration of the universe. In the Mithraic mythology, Mithra merged with a redeemer known as the Saskatchewan, who, like Christ in the Bible's book of Revelation with the healing leaves of the tree of life, would return at the end of time and restore the Haoma rite by unwillingly sacrificing the last sacred ox to save the world. Turning his head, Mithra unwillingly plunges his blade into the ox's neck so that the sacred Haoma will again flow. Interestingly, in the Zoroastrian creation myth as recorded in the Bunda Hashin 420, Oramazd eased the death pains of the first created ox with cannabis. Perhaps in some way this mythological ox can be identified with a metaphorical sacred cow, and by plunging the sword of our intellect into the history of religion and analyzing it, we are in a sense revealing the sacrament of the ancient world, the Soma and Hilma, the once and future tree of life. A situation analyzed more thoroughly in Cannabis and the Soma Solution. Something to think about the next time you take a pull on that joint and inhale that agent healing mystic smoke. Until we meet again, I am Chris Bennett, and this has been Burning Shiva.